Okay.
Poltergeist, have you ever seen it?
No, no.
And the X-Files? You haven't seen either.
And
Oh my
Star
God.
Trek. We have David Hurley here, everyone. The David Hurley is here. It always sounds more. It always sounds more powerful when you go the. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like,
Like the
like, watch this. Richard Elmore is here, everyone. The Richard Elmore.
wow,
Yeah,
that's so much better.
it totally is.
No, it
Persevere. Good to
is.
see. I know. Try it, Rich. Here. Hold on. Let's.
I'll try it with you. Welcome to the show, Dave Scott. We have the David Scott here with us.
Bingo.
Wow.
See,
That does feel good.
it does feel. It rolls off the tongue well. It rolls off the tongue well.
Thank you for that.
Jose, how are you? The Jose Maguina.
It works every time.
Dark
Alex.
Hour, good to have you here. Watch this. It even works for the ladies. Rebecca Turner, good to see you. The Rebecca Turner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Kurt Seltzer,
So,
good to see you.
wow.
The Jenny White Bear, thank you for coming on in. Hey, we're going to go in like 15 seconds. Super Chat is open. Hit that thumbs up. Let's have a good night tonight. We're into the round table here with a great crowd. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you wish to listen to our archives, they are free for you by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Well, I got to tell it, first off, just say this. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I get real excited about our theme song. Ron Bumblefoot Thal's little brother is watching. Just sets the mood perfectly for tonight with the SOR Roundtable. We do this near the end of each month where I bring in a bunch of friends from around the UFO, paranormal, supernatural, witchy community, and we go through the month that was. And already, we are almost through February, heading into March, and I'll tell you, I'm ready for a new month already. You know why? Because we are 1 month closer to this COVID stuff ending where we can all just have a good time and start planning that SOR party down in Vegas. We need that. Joining us on the round table tonight from Goof On, we have Little Richie G, Richard Giordano, our resident witch, Lynn Wallington, from Paranoia Magazine, Olav Phillips, and this man is from the Mudutu Effect. He has one of the greatest beards in paranormal history, Matt Lay. Everyone, welcome to tonight's show. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to kick things off right now with some UFOs because there was a couple of things really big that happened in February. Number one, just a few nights ago, an airplane flying from Cincinnati, Ohio, all the way to Arizona, over New Mexico, almost got buzzed, well, did get buzzed, by almost what looked to be a cruise missile. The pilots reported it. Now, the only way we know about this report from American Airlines, who has now said you got to talk to the FBI if you want to know anything about this. Basically, what they said was they didn't deny it, because some civilian who has nothing better to do in his life than to record pilots talking in the air flying over his house recorded this amazing conversation where the pilots of this American Airlines flight literally were calling the tower to see if there were any other aircraft in sight. Rich, I want to start with you because this is a strange case of almost another Tic Tac type affair that we've heard so much about.
Well, also, let me tell you, Third Phase of Moon was the first to break the story, and I happen to be part of that investigation where I called into the airlines. And when you call in to American Airlines, it goes to reservations basically, but there was a 40-minute wait, so I put my name in there for them to call back with my number, and they did 20 minutes later. Now, supposedly, I was talking to a woman named Amy, who was in reservations, who asked me the most strangest questions for a reservationist. She's asking, was this specifically a TikTok video, or are you part of something on YouTube? And I told her who I was with, and Third Phase and all that. So it was pretty interesting how for 20 minutes we stayed on the phone, and she basically seemed like she was vetting me. And I found out that I couldn't get any information from her, so she gave me a number to the headquarters, which never called me back, and I never spoke to anybody. But the next day, the ham operator, who records all sorts of strange things, this is why he does it, just like we skywatch and look for UFOs and the paranormal. It takes time, but he captured this strange conversation with the pilot calling in about a cylindrical object, and then he realized he said something that didn't sound right. So then he said it was kind of like a missile, and then it went to a private channel. So it's a real interesting experience the pilot had. And of course, people are trying to debunk it, like Mick West and other people out there saying it was another airplane going over. But I think the pilot would know what an airplane looks like, even if it was a Lear jet a quarter of a mile away. But he said it went right over us. So it's a real important 18 seconds in UFO history.
It really is, because we are starting to see more and more pilots come out about this, Olav Phillips, as we bring you in from Paranoia Magazine. I mean, you have talked to a lot of people around North America, Olav, about not just this situation, but others as well. Are we going to see more pilots coming out speaking of these close encounters?
Well, I always go back to the beginning of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This guy, he's a pilot, he sees something, and I said, well, do you want to report a UFO? He goes, no. And, I think that the stigma of it, like it used to be that if you reported a UFO, you were pretty much just going to be grounded. And I think that stigma has worn off. And more, people are willing to come forward. The Navy admitted that they didn't know what the Tic Tac was, and I think that it's more free now. So yeah.
Okay, so Olav, in a situation like this where we're starting to see more of hear more of these Tic Tac type of craft, I was talking to Luis Elizondo, and we're going to get a little bit more into that later on in the show. But in talking to Elizondo, he said there has been numerous sightings of this same type of craft, this elongated, rounded-edged cylinder that seems to have an affection for aircraft in the sky and coming really close to them. What is your take on the Tic Tacs?
Well, first of all, it does go way back. There's a audio track that was intercepted by some amateur radio operators in Russia years ago, where a MiG-29 pilot was flying out in the Far East somewhere, and something tripped their perimeter, across the frontier, and he was chasing it at full power, and it was out climbing him and outpacing him. And the Russian, Air Defense Command, they couldn't identify it. And he described it kind of like that too. But, these guys know what these planes are, by the way. That when they're in the cockpit, I can go on Flight Radar 24. I'm one of those kooky people that has the ADS-B receivers, and I feed data to Flight 24 and FlightAware. And, they know, due to the transponder, what kind of aircraft that is. So my gun instinct is that it's some sort of drone. I think that they carted you off to the FBI, which I think is fascinating, that the FBI, they're sending people to the FBI now. The FAA is not responding. But my gut instinct is this is some kind of drone. And it's been cited for years and years and years. It's not something that happened in the last 6 months. That radio intercept is probably 3 years old, 4 years old.
Dave, is anybody saying, have you heard, or anybody else here, that what if it was a missile that just was a warning shot or that missed his mark? Maybe that's why the FBI is involved?
Well, I don't think so, because the missile, missiles obviously can change course, right? But if it was some sort of a shoulder-fired missile, or even a vehicle-launched missile, most likely it would be a radar guided or seeker that would go after the engines of the fuselage. It wouldn't fly over it. You can't really do like a warning shot with a missile exactly. I mean, you can, but it not in that context.
What if they took off the guidance system?
Well,
just I know it's a huge risk. I was just throwing it out there.
Well, it would fire. It would just fire straight, arc over it.
Okay.
Right. It would just fire in a straight line until it ran out of fuel, and then it would crash.
So that,
and like a cruise missile, they load basically the GPS coordinates of wherever they want to go, and on board the cruise missile, it's using GPS to figure out its navigation. So they have endpoints, whether it's an engine or a fuselage or a building. There's always an endpoint. So it's not. I don't think they fired it over like a warning shot, but I do think it's a drone. I mean,
yeah.
Well, let's find out from Matt. Let's find out from Matt Lay here, because he's former United States Air Force. Matt, thank you so much for coming on in. What do you think? Drone, or are you in the area of aliens?
Well, I'm leaning more in the agreement of the drone concept, because that was one of my jobs, was tracking transponders, and because I was combat comm, and I handled all communications between anywhere from aircraft to common any type of communications. But we were first in, last out, as they called it. But there was times we were in certain other areas that we had to track planes with transponders, are the ones that turned them off. And also to go back to the cruise missile concept, even when I had to relay some of that information on old cruise missiles, the chances of that just skipping over the top of a plane is very nil. Yeah. But I'm leaning more toward the drone concept.
How about you, Lynn?
I'm kind of in agreement that I think it's most plausibly a drone, but I think because we just don't know right now, we certainly can't rule out something else. But it seems to be the most plausible option for me, is a drone.
Am I the only one who's got aliens around here? Because
no, well, I think it's a UFO.
The affinity of the aircraft. It's its affinity to aircraft, right? But if I'm the Air Force and I'm testing a drone, I want to go fly it by aircraft to see what they do, or to see, how it interacts. Because one of the things you have to remember, right, is that when a plane is flying, depending on the speed, there's a turbulence wake behind it, or in the case of a fighter, there's a shockwave front. And so if it's flying over the top of it, it's actually hitting a turbulence band that's pushed up by air coming over the top of the fuselage. So there's a lot of reasons why, it flying around airplanes would be interesting.
I don't think that's it. And I don't mean to be, saying you're wrong, but
nobody knows.
Why wouldn't they just do it in their own airspace? Why do they have to mess around with, the public? They can get a full-size jet and do it in their military airspace. I don't see why they have to do that. That's what's so strange.
Yeah, but you're assuming in this case, I think, that they sent it up specifically to go mess around with airplanes. They could have bisected each other accidentally. That the aircraft could have been flying somewhere else, right? And this plane was just kind of in the way. And since it was in the way, it flew over the top of it. But
the plane was on its normal route.
Yeah, but you can't, just because it's on a route. All those routes are is path. Think of it as a highway in the sky, right? But they're between waypoints. That they use a series of waypoints to get wherever they're going. So you don't know when you launch your aircraft, you don't know where that 737 is going to be in the sky relative to you at a certain time. And the military has a tendency, as the guy who's the vet will tell you, they decide they're going to take off at 3 p.m. They take off at 3 p.m. regardless of weather conditions, regardless of turbulence. As long as the plane can withstand it, they'll fly through it. So it might have just bisected it accidentally.
Wow. That's irresponsible.
Let me throw something else out here, guys.
Not necessarily.
About this, though. I mean, we have the military claiming, from David Fravor and other pilots, we have the Nimitz guys claiming about these Tic Tacs as well. If this is what was seen by these pilots from American Airlines just a few days ago, okay, that's civilian. But when you have these craft showing up in military training exercises and the pilots know nothing about it, and the operations crew, the radar crew, knows nothing about it, isn't that a little bit dangerous for a U.S., say a secret U.S. drone squadron going into those areas and conducting missions without knowledge of the aircraft carrier group?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened.
No.
I'll be the first to admit that. So, but also, once again, to reiterate what Lynn said, since we don't know exactly, it's, I can only base it off of my experiences, with the Air Force and what the military's done in the past.
So would the Air Force, Matt, screw with the Navy like that?
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Like wow. I honestly don't know. I'm not asking that to be ignorant.
No. We always pick on each other's branches. I mean, literally, and sometimes at great risk.
Jesus.
But you also have to remember, right, is that, the Air Force doesn't tell the Navy what they're doing and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But also, if I'm the Air Force and I'm testing a drone and I know they're there, if I pop my drone out and fly it by, I want to see what they do. I want to see whether they could detect it on radar. I want to see what the radar cross section was. It's like there's a lot of reasons why you would want to do it without them knowing. And as far as the military being safe, the military has never been safe. Look at any military base; it's a super fun hazmat site because they illegally dump radioactive material, and they're just like, go dump the jet fuel over there.
I'll give you a prime example. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll give you a prime example of that. When the F-117A was first introduced, they didn't tell anybody about these things, and the pilots were messing during Desert Storm. They were constantly messing with the other pilots because of the suppression on the radar. So they would literally sneak up and then turn on the lights, causing the other planes to scatter. I mean, it was so things like that. That type of concept, messing with other branches, was is quite normal.
Okay, I did not know that.
Dave,
yes, Richard.
Doesn't that make sense? What happened with the Nimitz then, 2004? Somebody's got these drones, weren't going to tell the other branch what they were doing, and had some fun.
Could very well be. Could very well be, but it could be aliens as well.
I know.
You're also assuming, though, that this is a branch, that this is an Air Force vehicle.
Yeah.
It may not be an Air Force vehicle. This could be a private project between the CIA and Lockheed. I mean, the A-12 was a CIA program. The Air Force hosted it. The Air Force, had some pilots that participated in it, but the early pilots that flew the A-12 were Lockheed pilots. So,
good point. Yep.
It's highly compartmentalized. It's not necessarily the Air Force even knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Well, let's change the topic. Lynn, do you think that there are going to be more of these types of sightings coming out into the public because now the public over the last few years has recognition of what a Tic Tac type craft is?
Yes, I do, because I think the precedence has been set now, and more people seem to be coming out and comfortable talking about it. So my hope is that, yes, they absolutely will.
Do you see that becoming, even with other incidents, that it's going to become a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, conversational?
I mean, possibly. I hope so. I think that, it would be helpful to all of us if we were able to speak a little more openly about it. But again, we're talking about branches of the government, we're talking about branches of military, and I don't know, maybe not. It just seems like it comes out little by little, and we'll see. Sometimes it feels like there's a little bit all at once, and then we hear nothing for a couple of years, and then more. So it's possible.
Yeah. How about you, Richie G?
What was the original question? Are we going to see it more regularly in conversations?
Yes.
And the sightings are going to happen like this more and more?
Yes.
Yeah, they haven't really seemed to increase to me. It seems just about once a year we have a sighting like, we just heard about, maybe twice a year if we're lucky. So I don't think there'll be any more than the usual. Just by happenstance, something happened, That's it. No, it doesn't seem to be increasing either.
Richie, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Do you think that these sightings are planned?
I do, yes. I think they know when there's going to be training, whatever they call them, the training squadrons out, and why not? Let's see how they react to it in real world.
What if it's aliens, though?
Well, then we don't know. Then we're just assuming at this point.
But you can't. One of the things that we learned in anthropology school is that, when you're dealing with a group that has an alien thought process that is not your thought process,
right,
there is zero way to predict what they're going to do because there's no common frame of reference.
Thank God you said that. That is, everybody overlooks that. They say, no, the aliens were spying on us. How do you know? You don't know.
It gets me in trouble, though.
I hear you.
Don't ask me about the Mercury fish star map. I'll get into a lot of trouble, but it's true.
Matt, Matt, I want to have you come on in here in regards to these sightings. Do you think we're going to see more of these publicly now?
I think it's a twofold answer. I think the public may speak more because people are getting more comfortable. And we've seen that here. Before COVID, when we were having workshops and we were hearing more and more people discussing openly, either from past experiences or current ones. And but the sightings, I tend to agree. It seems to be like a standard, whether it be aliens or otherwise or planned, from a propaganda standpoint or whatever, to see how we react or how, that type of situation. It seems to be pretty constant. I don't see like an increase. It would be great if there was, because if there's an increase in just judging by what I've seen around here, people responding and talking more and being more open about it versus the way it used to be, because you never wanted to bring anything up.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that, Matt. But is it still in that don't ask, don't tell phase?
No, I think it's gotten a lot less. Just an observation of seeing how people will react when you bring it up in a group environment. Maybe on a one-by-one, maybe, but in a group environment, people tend to talk more openly about it.
It would be nice, as we got about a minute to go here. Richie, are we still in a don't ask, don't tell type phase, you think?
I do think so. Yeah, to a point. It depends on what you're asking. So if you want to ask something that requires a lot of evidence, and you got a different answer. You got a different question. Everything changes. So I still think we're in that phase. I think we'll always be at a certain level of that because things aren't increasing, and it seems to be these sightings are more. Well, they've been the same. These types of sightings, with the airlines and jets and everything like that, Tic Tac stuff. So, yeah, I still think we're at that don't ask, don't tell type of stage, Dave, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? We're going to move on here in the next half hour as we're going to get into truth. What is truth? And does the UFO public, the paranormal public, the cryptid public really want the truth? And we're going to go deep because Rich and I had a conversation about this before the show, and a 5-minute conversation turned into about a 35-minute conversation. We're going to get into it next on Spaced Out Radio. What is truth on the SOR Roundtable? All right, we're clear. Hey, Long Island Bigfoot, how you doing? Good old Libber. He's the Libber. We're clear. You guys can speak if anybody wants to.
Were you embedded with the forward air combat controllers in the Air Force?
Oh yeah, was with the 283rd Combat Communications Squadron, and then air combat controllers. We had to work hand in hand.
Yeah, I have a friend who was a air combat controller.
Nice.
Yeah, calling in bomb strikes and dog fights from a sand dune.
Hey, Matt, can you do us a favor? Because looking around, we don't see Allison waving out the window again. You know, we're all looking.
She's actually upstairs. She's got to be up super early in the morning. So.
Oh, man. Man, that's awesome.
I met this. I had to go to a place, and while I was there, I met this guy. He was a combat controller, like very high level one, and the last flight that he ever did, he got stuck in an AWACS for like 14 hours over Afghanistan. And he said they left Ramstein and it was pretty nice, and they got out over Afghanistan and the turbulence and everything. And he was like, after that I landed and I said, I got to retire. But he was stuck in an AWACS for like 14 hours.
Jeepers.
Right. And now, are we talking the small Navy type AWACS or the Air Force AWACS where they at least have a bathroom in there?
Yeah.
What is it? It's an E5?
Yeah, that's like the Boeing 730 or 737.
No, it's not a 737.
Or whatever it is. What is it?
730.
I was going to say, Allison says she's still in the room, so she said hi.
Yes, I'm reading that in the chat room. Yes, Allison's back waving. Hey, G, what do you think of Matt's beard? Look at that, eh? Look at that.
That's an epic beard. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
I see Dave getting down there, and how long did that take to grow? 2-3 years?
About a year.
That's it?
I got to work on mine.
Dave, what do you think? Would you grow yours like that?
Fuck yeah, I would. Oh, yeah. That is my dream right there. That is my dream.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
I turned the camera on because I was kind of hoping Allison would come down and do the...
Hey, Alien Probe Master, hope you're lubed up for tonight's show. How are you?
Lubed?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Alien Probe Master. That is the best YouTube name. Alien Probe Master. Lubing us up for tonight's episode.
I'm going to get a refill real quick.
All right.
He's got to get that 55-gallon drum off Amazon.
You got that right. How do you know about that, Olav? Hey there, Princess Denali. Oh, my.
I know about a lot of things, Dave.
I will guarantee you that Olav is wearing a plaid shirt tonight, shorts, and probably sandals.
No, I'm wearing my shoes. It's a little chilly out, so I lit a fire. But, yes, I'm wearing plaid and shorts. It's all Carhartt all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Manitoba Becky has graced us with her presence. Yes, the pride of branded Manitoba. She is a wheat king. Manitoba Becky, everyone. There she is. Uh-huh. All right, we got about just under 90 seconds. And
I don't think I've been to Manitoba.
Oh, you're not missing much. They only have two seasons, mosquito and winter.
That's Winnipeg, right?
She is a little southwest of Winnipeg. Good hockey there.
Which one's Alberta?
Alberta's beside me. So it goes British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, where Matt is, Manitoba, where Manitoba Becky is, and then Ontario, Quebec, Northwest, New Brunswick, Halifax.
Yeah, I've only
Scotia.
been to British Columbia, the Yukon Territory, and the Northwest Territory.
Dave, how come you said in a month?
Wherever in Alberta. I've been Alberta.
Oh, sorry, Rich.
That's okay. What you said in a month, we're going to be getting back to going to UFO cons and stuff like that.
No,
why is that?
I just am trying to put positive thoughts out there, man. Positive thoughts.
I like that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, because I'm sick of being in the snow.
This sucks. Yeah.
I'm sick of being in the snow. It's snowing right now. Oh, thank you, Cat Chaser and Major Lee for the super chats. It's a great way to support this show. 124 people watching. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up. Here we go with the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with the SOR Roundtable. We're going to get into a little bit of truth here tonight. Does the paranormal, supernatural, ufological, encrypted crowds really, really want truth? Now, Rich had a little bit of a segment about this on his show, and I'm curious. Rich, I want to start off with you on this one because, I mean, this is a conversation that you and I have had numerous times. You know, do people in this field truly want the truth? Do they want disclosure? Do they want the discovery of what is creating ghosts? Do they want the discovery of cryptids like Bigfoot or consciousness that controls the universe and not some sort of God?
No and yes. I'll tell you why. I think people like to be entertained. And once you find Bigfoot or prove the UFOs are there or something like that happens or prove that they don't exist either way, I think then the dream is over. I think people like talking about the mystery, wondering about the mystery, imagining it, if it happened to them. So when you take that away or there's a finalization of that search, then what's left to wonder about? So I think that's the problem we have. There's a fine line between entertainment and truth. So when somebody comes over to my channel and they see me talking about something and I'm just trying to figure it out, they're saying, why are you debunking this? It's CGI or it's real or whatever their opinion is. And I'm like, well, that's it. It's just my opinion. We'll never know the answer. But they get mad when you try to find out what it really is. And I find that fascinating. Like, don't you want to know? I do want to know, but I think they want to know on their own. And I don't think they want me telling them or anybody else because, I don't know, Dave. You see where I stop right there? I get very confused on what to say next because I've been in it for 17 years and I see people getting mad at the truth. I'm like, what do you want from me? Do you want me to just be goofy or do you want me to tell you what I see and what I really think that I'm seeing, with the evidence that I've accumulated over the years? So I don't know. I don't think people want the truth, but I think they like the entertainment more.
Lynn, how about you? Do you think the UFO or the entire public in the paranormal supernatural really wants proof that this exists? Because there's a lot of woo out there. There's a lot of cool stories out there. There's a lot of extremely awesome experiences people have had. But in the end, do we really want the truth?
Well, so my background is in psychology, and so I always tend to look at it from that perspective. And I think one thing we have to remember is that truth is subjective, both to the person speaking it and the person hearing it. So if those two truths don't necessarily match up, I think that's where you're getting that conflict, and people's perceptions and their wishes and their desires are always going to kind of color that truth for them. So I'm going to kind of go with the same thing that Richie said, which is yes and no. They want the truth, but then they don't want the truth at the same time.
Okay, so do you think, is there a difference, Lynn, in your opinion, between being able to handle the truth? Like, I don't believe, and I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I don't believe the mainstream public is ready for any sort of UFO disclosure. Okay? I don't believe there's a lot of people out there who want to know whether or not there is life after death, or whether we have some amazingly giant monsters living in North America.
Well, when you say they don't want to know, in what respect?
Well, take UFOs and alien existence, okay? Because everything on a religious connotation basically says anything from the stars is going to be demonic. And there's over 4.5 billion people on this planet who truly believe that in some sort of deity that is, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Bible, whether it's any major book that believes that anything that comes from the sky is going to start Armageddon. We got the 4 horsemen coming on down, and it ain't Ric Flair, woo, and his friends.
Well, I mean, I would very respectfully disagree. I don't necessarily think that anybody who is a part of an organized religion is going to automatically assume that anything alien coming from the skies is automatically demonic. I think that there's room in that religion to incorporate that into it. But I think the public. Okay, again, I'm going to give you a yes and no answer. Yes, I think they're capable of handling the information. In other words, I don't think there will be mass hysteria. I don't think everybody's going to be freaking out and pulling their hair out. Oh my God, what's happening? But at the same time, I think that we as a society have become so jaded with everything that we get presented to us, whether it's on the news or the internet, that even if you had an alien standing right next to the president, he's like, ta-da, here he is, there'd be people like, that's fake. Like, I don't think people would even believe it at this point, to be honest.
Olav, your thoughts?
Well, I think I agree. I think a lot of it is about entertainment. I think people genuinely do want to know what the truth is, but there's a lot of entertainment value in getting there. I think, as the other person said, that I think they want to know their truth, right? I think that they want the truth to be their truth. That, there's a very famous segment where John Lear was talking to Art Bell, and Art Bell says, "I want to know the truth. I want full disclosure." And John Lear says, "Well, do you really?" Well, Art Bell says, "Well, of course I do. Of course I do." And so Lear says, "Okay, we're going to do like a hypothetical." He lays out the whole thing, abductions, cattle mutilations. It was UFO centric, but you get the idea. And at the end of this, and obviously John Lear has some particular views about certain things. The base is on the far side of the moon and what they do and things like that. But when he got done, he asked Art Bell again. He said, "Okay, Art, you still want disclosure?" And Art Bell said, "No, I really don't want to know." So I think they do. I think they're highly entertained by it, and the mystery of it is really intriguing. But I think that they want the truth, and they're ready for the truth if it coincides with their worldview. Richie? If it doesn't, I don't think they want it.
Richie?
Well, the path to get to the truth is what's the best part about what we do. It's, the implications and the dreams that could come true, basically, with a new alien technology and all that stuff that comes with disclosure. But I don't know if entertainment fits. It does. Of course, everybody sees things, the movies and all that, and the media really makes it a lot more about a threat than anything else. And I just wish we would go back to where E.T. was around, kind of had a little more gentler approach, like Close Encounters maybe. But Close Encounters, that movie was really groundbreaking on how the military would act or governments would act with that disclosure. And I think we might be talking about it later tonight, that Oumuamua, may be an alien spaceship and whatnot. But, there's just so many things that are put into this. Oumuamua, that's entertainment to me. That was entertaining to talk about that and hear what scientists say and NASA and everybody saying it slowed down, it sped up when it shouldn't have, it was controlled. And so the world didn't explode when people were talking about that. And that's kind of almost like talking about aliens whizzing by the earth.
But
I don't think we're ready.
Avi Loeb, in that case, the Harvard professor who claims that he doesn't believe that Oumuamua was just some sort of generic space rock, but of an alien whatever. He doesn't know what it is. Could it have been a craft? Could it have been an alien rock from a civilization from another galaxy? We don't know, but I mean, he was raked over the coals, Rich, by his fellow scientists and astronomers.
Well, only because it's the first time they've ever seen anything cylindrical like this, right? Through a telescope, I think. So an interstellar rock, mind you. That's the interesting part. It came from an interstellar area, so interstellar space. So that's the difference between what we see in our solar system and things coming out. This thing was cylindrical. So did it come from another solar system? How long has it been out there? How does it look like that but doesn't have a trail like a regular comet? What is it made of? So a lot of factors played into that. And I think he's just using that original looking rock as a form of, entertainment. Well, let's entertain the idea that this is an alien spacecraft. And he makes some good points.
Mm-hmm. Matt.
But that could look like that entertainment. Anyway.
Matt, your opinion. Or does the public want truth in regards to finding out what these mysteries are?
Not to sound so repetitive with the yes and no, but we literally just had this discussion the other day, and we posted on the page that research should not be done to confirm your own biases. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of research is being done. And not trying to find the truth, but to confirm their own biases. And, whether it be, like you said, believing in God or, for this or, they're from the Pleiades or, whatever the case may be, people are only focusing on those. And I also agree on the entertainment aspect. We've seen that firsthand, but it's a yes and no. I think people can embrace the truth if they can reduce their own biases. They have to be a little bit more open-minded.
Well, let's take this a step further. Okay, what about truth in the field? Matt, you are someone who has pushed for a lot of truth in the field. It's been one of your frustrations in the paranormal, as you've gone as far as writing a paranormal 101 handbook on how people should ghost hunt, right? I mean, but in these fields, we are loaded with fake scientists, we are loaded with fake journalists, we are loaded with fake degrees, people claiming their doctorates from DeVry in, scribbling circles is worth something putting on their resume. We've got a ton of these people out there, Matt. So how do we discuss the truth if we can't even create the truth because we want to be a name in this field?
Oh, agreed. I mean, that's, how many times just over the past couple of weeks, I've already disproved some of my own practices, that I was hardcore. This is the way things are. But I think that's the difference is myself and the team that I work with and some of the research that we're doing, we're not just embracing the fact that this is the way everything's been done. We want to know the why it's always been done this way. We want to dig into it. So it's a case. It's like tomorrow. I have Sunday. Excuse me. I have a live feed. Pretty much, so I'm going to be apologizing for a lot of things that I've said in the past that you can't do it this way because of the research that we've been doing, and we found out otherwise. But will other teams embrace it? I sent out a report just recently, and a whole bunch of teams responded positively about it, which I was shocked. I thought I was going to get slammed. But it was nice to see that people are open-minded, legitimate teams. And
right.
I think we've discussed this before, that only 10% of the teams out there may be legitimate.
Very true. But Richie, as we were talking earlier about this, we see people out there, like we said, fake degrees, claiming fake resumes, but the public doesn't call them out. We always hear the yeah buts. Yeah, but she's a nice person. Yeah, but he's a nice guy. Yeah, but this person was on this television show. Or yeah, but they got great hair and teeth. There's always a yeah, but that we let people, these hoaxsters, these tricksters, these liars, off the hook. And to me, that speaks a lot about truth on whether or not people really want the truth in this field.
Sadly, yeah, they overlook it. And we're talking about the general public here. We're not talking about you or me who are in this every day or the panel here. We're talking about people who just like the message. And what I found out over the years is that it's really a popularity contest. And not a contest, but it's a popularity thing. People like you, they're going to most likely to believe in you. And it's strange. Yeah, but he's a nice guy. Well, he's lying. Kind of don't know. Can you prove it? And then you prove it, and they're like, well, I still like the message. He seems really nice. It's weird. And those people, they just are here for the entertainment.
Here's an example. And Rich, I apologize for cutting you off.
That's okay.
But here's an example that Rich and I talked about. Earlier this month, I had to put a strike against someone on their YouTube channel for using my content. I got hammered with messages on Twitter, on Facebook. My phone was ringing from people I didn't even know had my number, saying, but he's a nice guy. He doesn't know any better. He doesn't. And I ended up looking like the jerk for protecting my company's, which is SOR Media Ventures, my company's property. And I was the one who looked like the jerk here. So, that person and I we discussed it. I don't think he will do it again, right? But he may. You never know.
He won't.
But the point is, I was the jerk for protecting my own property. And the UFO community came at me, man. Came at me.
Were those your fans or his that came at you?
Both.
Really?
Both. And when I say it's not just fans, but it was fellow people in the industry that we would all know. I'm not going to mention names, right? Because I never do mention names. But I was shocked by that. Yes.
But you just said it right there. In the industry, that's the fundamental problem. Is that it has become an industry. And so there are certain people, because I don't name names, but we'll just suffice it to say I'm still waiting for the blue chicken people to come and save me and the big circle ships. But what happens is somebody has a good idea, they write a book. Everybody likes the book, right? And then they're under a lot of pressure to write another book. So they write another book. And then they're under a lot of pressure to write another book because they've decided that whatever they did for a living, whether they were a doctor or whatever, they now need, because it's an industry and it's now paying the bills, they need to keep cranking it higher and higher, right? And so now then eventually you have them taking screen captures off movies and claiming they're moon bases. It's they start out with the best intentions in the world, but they end up monetizing it too greatly. And I've always believed that in a lot of these scenarios, whether you're talking about what happened down in Mexico, the quote unquote alien, or, this particular person that I'm thinking of with their blue circle ships and his buddy who wanted to sue the entire world for copyright violations, it's the profit imperative. And I think that, hey, I wrote a book, right? I want to get paid for my book, sure. But some people, they take it too far. And I don't think that there's enough money in the 4TN to really do that. And so, they become very weird about it, and they become very like hyper aggressive about it. So, I think what you said right there is the crux of the problem, is that it's an industry, that they're treating it like an industry. And this isn't aerospace, or this isn't communications or oil and gas, right? One of the things we have to recognize is that a lot of the people that are willing to put in the time and the footwork to actually research this stuff don't necessarily have the degree associated with it. And we have to accept that, but there are certain levels of research quality that we should have, but it will always be a name game or personality contest, because that's human nature. You get your prime minister that way, we get our presidents that way, the Europeans get their prime ministers and their presidents, in Asia, South America, it's always like the cult of personality. It's just something that's human nature you have to accept.
I want to get Lynn in on here as we got about 3 minutes to go. Lynn, we want the truth?
Do we want the truth in the UFO community?
In any community?
To a certain extent. I do believe, kind of along the lines of what everybody was sort of saying, is that, specifically, if I'm just specifically talking about the UFO community right now, there is an entertainment side to it, or it has developed into an entertainment side, and the paranormal community as well. We see these shows and people are claiming to be experts, but in reality, someone who is going to be getting all of their information from a TV show is really only looking to be entertained. They're not necessarily looking for actual experts. At least one would hope that they would recognize that that's not necessarily going to be the case. So again, I'd say the truth is subjective. What type of truth is it that they're seeking? Are they just looking to be entertained, or are they looking for actual scientific research? And can we even have that? I don't know.
I think people just want evidence. That's what I think they want to see. Hear those EVPs, see those figures walking by, look at those lights in the sky.
The videos.
That's freaking awesome. That's entertainment.
Yeah, they are. They are great. You're right, but and that's what I'm saying. That's it is exactly what it is.
But
that's the entertainment side.
But the other side of this too is these phenomena have been broken down to the most minute scales. All right, like you take Bigfoot, you have the people who believe in it, you have the people who don't believe in it, the critical thinkers, then you have the animal group, then you have the historian group, then you have the people who believe in the woo, then you have the people who think Sasquatch is a hairy humanoid and deserves voting rights because they're people too. And we can go on and on. With ghosts, it's the same thing. We have a bunch of different terminology in ghosts. I think what we've done is we've broken it down to such a minute faction with all of these fields that you get to choose what you want to believe and who you want to believe, and it's always going to give those fakers, those frauds, the voices. So I don't think there's ever a chance that we could have true truth inside of all of this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not until you get one.
Right.
The day you walk in with a dead Bigfoot or Yeti, then it's undeniable. Or the day that a UFO lands in Central Park, or it crashes down the street from my house and we're all standing around staring at it and looking at the little aliens that are confused running around, then you'll know. Then you have definitive proof. But all this stuff, as much as I love it to death, all this stuff is just enough fringe that without hardcore truth being, I can hold an alien in my hands it's always going to be fractionalized. And that's just human nature. We fractionalize.
Well, if you're going to be holding the alien in your hands, I know it'll be dressed in Carhartt. Olav Phillips,
that's right.
Richard Giordano, Matt Lay, Lynn Wallington. They're all here for the SOR Roundtable. In hour 2, we're going to get into Luis Elizondo doing the tour, talking to everybody he can about aliens and UFOs. Or are there aliens and UFOs? We'll be back. All right, these lights are driving me nuts now, so I'm going to turn them off. I'm going to grab my dogs and take them outside. You guys talk away here. We got 6 minutes.
You left out the most important part. He's talking to everybody he can. He's getting paid.
Who's that?
Luis Elizondo.
Oh, I know.
He's getting the book deals and getting on TV and getting paid. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. And brings nothing new to the table.
No.
Love it.
Well, he oversaw a very compartmentalized thing. I mean,
I know, but we never
limited.
will see that stuff. That's what's frustrating. There's so many things he can't talk about because it goes against the oath he took, but I understand that. There's Lou's just about the military though, right? Isn't he just now trying to get out into the public? Isn't that what his new thing is? What he always wanted to do?
His thing is he always wanted to release it to the public?
Isn't that why he kind of left TTSA, because he wanted to get more involved with the public instead of doing what they wanted to do and be stuck with all the ATIP material that they received and just keep talking about things of old?
Well, but the problem with TTSA, right, is that look at what they're getting and where they're getting it from. You could argue that TTSA is a propaganda front.
Yeah.
They're being handled.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Look at who is on the board. It's guys from SRI. It's John Alexander. I mean, these guys. I mean, half the people that are on there are from SRI, which is a government think tank.
Yeah, it's just another government. It's like the powerhouse group, the all-stars of ufology in the government almost. Yeah.
And you have a rock star that's running it, who's getting paid.
Well, that makes it valid.
Right. Yeah.
Of course. Of course. If you're famous, that means it's true.
Entertainment.
It must be.
Well, isn't that what they're doing now, TTSA? And that's what Tom DeLonge always wanted to do, is make movies, music, and write books and stuff. That's not entertainment. But that's not research, though.
But I think you answered your own question there, Richie. Though was it really in it for the research?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
But what is research? There's no standardized method.
No.
To research this stuff, and that was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about that.
I do it my way. Yeah. I do it my way. You do it your way.
Right.
I mean, I don't get paid for it for the most. I mean, I make some money off of it, but not really a whole lot. I mean, I do it for the sheer love of it, but I'm only going to research the parts that I'm fascinated by.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't begrudge anybody for making money from it if they can.
No.
It's
agreed.
If that becomes their only goal. But I think what I found too is that especially in the UFO community, if they find out, the community finds out that someone is making money off of it, they get very angry. They don't like it whatsoever.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I think they give a pass, again, if they like you. If they like your message, then it's okay. Stanton Friedman made money off of it for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He got laid off the nuclear-powered aircraft program that he was working on got canceled. And so he started doing UFO stuff, and he made, I don't think he made a ton, but he made enough to support himself and his family, so, and Cosmic Watergate. So he, I don't begrudge him for that at all.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
What I do begrudge is people like, what's his nuts? I forget his name now. The Ascension Key.
Is that David Wilcox?
David Wilcox, yeah. I don't like people like him because he's faking half that shit so that he can make money off of it.
Right. I don't
That's
like it
wrong.
if somebody comes in specifically to make money. It like that's their end goal.
But that is his end goal. I mean, I don't mind the Ghost Adventures crew. I actually think they're hilarious.
Oh, I do too. I love them.
Yeah. But,
me too.
But I hope they make a lot of money. It's funny.
Yeah.
But
they're great.
But no, guys like DeLong, I think they become problematic. But I also think that DeLong is being handled. I think that he's being fed information for a reason. Because I think a lot of this stuff that we see, I think, is exotic aircraft.
Hey, there's Allison.
Yeah, I would agree.
The gorgeous Allison Ford. There she is. Matt, give her a big kiss on the cheek from us. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Your beard's coming back. Looks great.
I know. I've got my idol right there that you're holding on to. Hey, Delta 8, how are you? Thanks for coming on in to the chat room. Gorgeous Larry Schulte, welcome.
Hey, am I gorgeous?
You are the.
Everyone commented about my beard.
You are the stunning and attractive Olav Phillips.
Jeez, I don't get any comments about my beard anymore. I'm feeling left out.
Oh.
I trim it a little bit, and I'm on the out.
Well, that's what happens when you trim it.
I shouldn't have trimmed it.
Brad Forsey, welcome, man. All right, guys, we got about 30 seconds here. All right.
It's a good show.
Babster and the Quick, welcome. Thanks, G.
I should get my goggles out.
Good time. Good time.
You're a good time, G.
You're a
good time.
Good food.
Yeah. Thank you to Cat Thank you to Cat Chaser ×2 and Major Lee for the super chats. It's a great way to support this show. Here we go, hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. McCulomancy. McCulomancy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio and on Instagram @SpacedOutRadioShow. We continue on with the SOR Roundtable. We do it near the end of each month, where we get to the month that was in the weird, strange, wacky, and wild. Our guest tonight, our resident witch, and we love her dearly, our resident unicorn, Lynn Wallington. From Goof On, we have Little Richie G, Rich Giordano, Matt Lay from the Meduto Effect in Saskatchewan. Wave, Matt, so everyone can see you around the world. And from Paranoia Magazine, Mr. Olav Phillips, the lovely and talented one himself. There he is. And I want to get into Luis Elizondo, because as we all know, in December, Elizondo left the TTSA to pursue other interests. And it was, we don't really know what happened in that breakup with Tom DeLong's team, where Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and Steve Justice all left for other adventures. And we maybe never will. But Elizondo recently has been doing a tour. When he was with the To the Stars Academy, he was rarely doing interviews. He now claims that the majority of those interviews that people asked of him, he never knew the requests were made due to the PR department of the To the Stars Academy. So now it's almost like he's making up for lost time. He's done a bunch of shows that have never had him on, and now had the opportunity, including this one. So, Olav, I want to start with you on this one. seeing a guy like Elizondo getting out in the public, going on as many podcasts, radio shows, YouTube shows that he has over the last month, is this good that he is getting out like that, or is it too much? Olav, are you there? Your microphone may be on mute. I don't know where he went. I don't know. Richie G. Oh, hold on.
Yeah,
there we
I can hear
go.
him.
There we go.
I can hear him.
There we go. Now I got him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I got you.
All right. iPhones. Okay, so I think it's really good for him. I think that he's trying to cement his place in the ecology of ufology. So, it makes sense that you want to talk as much as you can and get as many people to hear you and hear what you want to say, not what they want you to say. So I think it's good for him. Whether it's good for everybody, that's to be seen, but I think it's definitely good for him.
But, Olav, when I get to that, yes, it gets his name out. It makes him seem more human than what he was before. And I like the fact, I will go on record and say I like the fact that he's speaking out. But when he has spoken out, he really hasn't given a lot of information. He's very well versed in listening to the questions extremely intently and breaking those questions down, like a pro spook would.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple things here, right? I mean, this is Nick Pope, right? When Nick Pope, left the MOD, what can he really say? Either what does he really actually know? Because you're talking about highly compartmentalized environments that he frankly didn't necessarily know very much. Or what can he not say based on his oath of secrecy? So, he may not have anything significant that's new to say, but only offer analysis based on his experience. And this is what we've seen. I like Nick Pope. I think he's fascinating, but, he doesn't have anything else to say.
Terrible hair, though.
He doesn't have anything new to say, though, because he kind of, did his thing. But what he does offer is insight into how things work and, and what kind of, how would they approach something. But, yeah, and it also, again, you were talking about the spook thing. It could be a strategy to, diversify their pathway of messaging their disinformation, if you want to approach it from that point of view.
All right, Lynn, what do you think about Lou Elizondo really getting out there in public?
What do I really think? I mean, I'm going to agree. I think it's good for him. I don't know that it does much for the rest of us. I've kind of said it before, and I'll kind of say it again, is I think the man says a lot while saying very little.
Interesting. How does he say a lot with saying very little?
Well, it's like you were saying, when you ask him questions, he's very good at breaking it down. And when he breaks it down, he's able to kind of elude giving you any straight answers. You just don't get any straight answers out of the guy, really.
Well, he feeds back to you the question that you asked him.
Yeah, exactly. He answers a question with a question and then, kind of talks around it. He should be a politician, really. He's very good at talking in circles.
Richie G.
Well, that's what he's doing. He's politically putting himself back out into the public, trying to get in the good graces, because whatever's being said with TTSA, he's going to be distancing himself by showing that he is human. He doesn't take orders from them. He does what he wants to do, and he believes what he wants to be. And I thought he said he had aliens, Dave.
We did. You know what? I am convinced that he admitted on this show that he has seen gray aliens. Now you got to go. You got to go to the interview. It's 26 minutes, 28 seconds in, around there, where I ask him a question about aliens, and then he disregards it and kind of goes, "Well, what's an alien?" Goes real philosophical. And then he starts getting in, and I ask him point blank if he's ever seen any little gray dudes with big almond-shaped eyes and 3 fingers, maybe 4 on their hands, and, little skinny bodies, 4 to 5 feet tall. And he says that he has seen a lot of incredible stuff. And when I asked him, are you afraid? He goes, no. No, not really.
You see, he's dodging it.
He said,
I've seen a lot of amazing stuff. You know what? I talked to a guy who worked at DARPA. He's seen a lot of amazing stuff too.
Yeah, and then he says, we'll have to get more data on that to give you an answer, Dave. We'll have to get more data.
Yeah. Well, what's the data?
He's dodging your question.
But here's what I think, though.
But no, hold on. This is important, right? See what he did. He dodged your question, never admitted it, implied that he may have, and now we're talking about him.
I still think he did. Rich?
Yeah, I think he's... Oh, go ahead. You want to finish up?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, but that's the thing. He's keeping... This is a spook tactic. He's keeping you in his mind, or he's keeping himself in your mind, and he's generating more discussion, water cooler conversation about him, which furthers his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll
he's no, I totally agree with you. I think he didn't come right out and say that he saw aliens, but he also didn't come right out and say that he didn't. So here we are talking about it.
He's seen some incredible things, Dave. That's what he said, basically. That he can't explain. Got to get more data. Yeah, I know. That's Lou, though. But Lou can't tell us the details, even if he knows it, because he's got this oath towards, he swore an oath to never talk about it, I guess. And he's always working. Apparently, once you're who he is, you're always in that work role, no matter if you're retired or not.
So then why come out in the first place? If you can't say anything, what's the point of coming out? You can come out to say, hey, I've seen things, but I can't tell you anything, or I might have seen things.
Because he wants to be relatable.
Is a very funny thing. No, secrecy is a very funny thing. The way those things work is very interesting. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you know a guy who you're convinced went to Laos in Vietnam, which we did not go to. We never went to Laos. Okay? But you're 99% sure this particular guy went to Laos. His oath of secrecy means that he cannot tell you, the guy who's the Air Force that will tell you this, he can't tell you that he went to Laos. But if you ask him if he went to a specific city, he may or may not be able to tell you. But if you said, well, do they have daffodils in that city? He could go, yes. Do you get what I'm saying?
So you're saying he can allude to the answer, he just can't come right out and say it.
Correct. It's very specific. I never went to Cambodia, but I did go to Phnom Penh. Or I never went to Cambodia, but I went to Angkor Wat. Well, Angkor Wat's in Cambodia. Well, it may be, but I never went to Cambodia, but I went to Angkor Wat. You see what I'm saying? It's like saying I never went to Japan, but I went to Tokyo. It makes no sense, but that's how it works. Going to Tokyo is not classified. You going to Japan is classified. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates that. But if he wants to tell you something, he can derive a way to tell you without telling you.
But do you think, too, that that's a bit of a psychological tactic? He's telling you but not telling you at the same time, therefore causing confusion?
I think in this case, yes. We're probably thinking the same thing. Olav, yes, but I'll take it on a different end. I think that we don't know what his job is. We don't know if he is still involved with the government. We don't know if he's lurking around for new positions or that he is still in touch. We can almost guarantee it. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the other thing we have to remember. If he all of a sudden comes out and says, Lou Elizondo has aliens, what does that do? Or extraterrestrial species. What does that do for him? Because there is a large faction in Washington, D.C. that does not want this story to come out. There is a large faction that does. It's almost split 50-50. That we do know. And if he all of a sudden comes out and says, we've got aliens at Roswell, we've got aliens at Area 51, we've got aliens at my house right now, making me a nice rib barbecue, we have to worry about that, because that puts him in a predicament that all of a sudden he goes from Lou Elizondo, the spook in regards to all this, to Lou Elizondo, the experiencer and the all-knowing of the secrets that have just come out. That's a dangerous position for him to be in, whether or not his NDAs even allow it.
It's not an NDA. It's far beyond that. But he also, remember, he was in a very compartmentalized environment. Who knows what he actually knows? I mean, I use the example of, there was a guy, he was a machinist. He spent his entire life custom making bolts, and he never knew what the bolts were for. One day he went into a submarine that was on display somewhere. He's like, oh my God, that's the bolt that I made, and it had been attached to a nuclear reactor. And for his entire career, he never knew what that bolt was for. He just knew he manufactured it. So, the likelihood of him knowing the whole story is zero. He knows, when he was in that program, he knows what he was told. And they decided what to tell him. And what they told him could have not been true.
Exactly.
That's one of the problems with classification. Because what they tell you is what they want you to know based on what they want you to do for them. It doesn't mean it's true. It just means that that's the story they fed you.
That's true.
What makes it entertaining. Makes it highly entertaining.
Let's get Matt in here, because I know he probably has some words he wants to say.
Well, I absolutely agree with the, with the compartment, being in that type of situation. There was many times where I got orders to go overseas, and as soon as I land, my orders changed, and I still wasn't told where I was going to be. I was only given bits and pieces of information. And you kind of, it's human nature. You build your own story. So I wanted to add that in as well, because unfortunately, when you're in that situation, especially for a long period of time, you tend to fabricate. I'm not saying someone's lying. I'm just saying it's just human nature. You want to fill in the blanks because you are kind of isolated with the information. You're only getting pieces of it. And when you're asked for that information, you kind of want to fill that in because it kind of gives you that comfort.
Very true. Very true. But with Elizondo, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he is going to be the face of the franchise for a long time, Rich.
That's unfortunate. Because I don't know what else he can say that we haven't already heard. What's he going to bring that's new? I like Lou. I'm not saying I don't like the guy. I just don't think he can do anything more than, you or I can do if we were out in the field.
Analysis.
As a matter of fact, what's that?
Analysis.
Pretty much.
He brings to the table analysis.
Pretty much,
it's
yeah.
It's kind of like when on CNN, when you get the talking heads, it's like, well, I was a sheriff in this county, and based on that, my law enforcement knowledge, this is what happened. That's basically what you're going to get.
Yeah, you're right.
Pretty much.
No, you're very true on that. But we're going to see where this goes, because here's the thing. We know he's left TTSA. We know he's speaking a lot, almost to make up with the UFO public, because one of the things that he said was, even though he was not doing this for the UFO public is a very, very smart breed of people. And we know that whether they're educated or not, there's a lot of brilliant people in this field. Amateur researchers, professional researchers, authors, artists, everything in this field, Lynn. And Elizondo has made, kind of positive comments on the community itself for being as smart as it is. He probably didn't realize that there was this many brilliant people in there. So do you think befriending the UFO community like he's trying to do now is a peacemaking resolution, or do you think it's just something that he's just trying to get in the good graces and he's just going to continue on with his job by saying the right things?
I think it's absolutely a tactic. I think that Lou Elizondo is a very smart guy. He knows exactly what he's saying and he knows exactly what he's doing. And I also do agree that he's being fed the information that, whoever it is that's feeding him, whether it's the military or another governmental agency, this is the information that they are allowing to get out for whatever their reasons may be. And we certainly don't know that. But I absolutely think that his complimentary tone towards the UFO community as of late is 100% a tactic to get in the good graces of the people in the community.
Rich, you're nodding.
Well, I was just agreeing because I said that last comment. I said that. He's just trying to get into good graces and distance himself from TTSA at this point. Yeah, Lou has, I think, the connections that, we would all like to have. So I see that as a positive. He could do something really good for ufology. He can, because he has that kind of access. I just tired of waiting. That's all.
I think we're all tired. I think that's a good, strong comment. But, at least there are people talking, Olav.
Sorry. Yeah.
At least there are people talking. And I think it's a positive step that at least he's talking to a lot of people. Now, I may not agree with some of the podcasts that he's gone on, but that's my personal preference. I don't have to agree with that. The fact that he's making time for it, I think, is imperative.
Well, I would say that he seems like a really nice guy, but he's ingratiating himself, and whether you look at it from a point of view that I think he's being fed information, and I think they may be burning the TTSA out. It's kind of like CIA airlines, right? That they use one for a while, and then they decide, okay, that one's compromised, we're going to kill it off and go the next route. Everybody knew who Air America was. Okay, well, now we're going to use Evergreen. Everybody knew who Evergreen was. Okay, now we're going to use, whatever, Southern Air Transport. That's how they do things. That, they have a route, and then they use that route for a while, and then they shut it down. So he seems like a really nice guy. I think he probably is being fed information. I don't know that his connections would necessarily be that fruitful because of, compartmentalization and secrecy. But, whether you take it from a point of view that he's ingratiating himself because he's genuinely interested and wants to further the cause, so to speak, or whether he's putting out information or some fusion of both, I think it could have very positive ramifications. Even the analysis, I think, would be beneficial. But I think that I think with anybody, you need to take what they say with a grain of salt.
True that. With 2 minutes here to go before we go to the break at the bottom of the hour, Matt, do you think this is a situation where Lou's reputation because of his position is not going to allow him to catch the breaks that he deserves for actually talking?
Well, I was just thinking about all the different comments, and I just, because I know we only have 2 minutes, but one of the thoughts that came to mind is, regardless, removing every scenario out of the picture, and if you look at the possibility of, even if he gives a small piece of information that causes someone else to think outside the box on their own, that would be great. Also, you got the other aspect of, answering the question with the question, kind of looping around. Yeah, some people are going to fill in the blanks on their own without doing any type of further research, but there's going to be that percentage of people that will. So I'm kind of looking at this as a positive, negative type thing, as my buddy likes to call me, silver lining. So I look at this as an opportunity, actually.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Lynn, final word on this one.
Are you sure you want me to have the final word on Lou Elizondo?
I do.
I know it probably sounds like I don't like Lou Elizondo. I just think that he's not really giving a whole lot of new information to the community. So am having trouble understanding why he would be doing all of the interviews and all of the appearances other than for economical reasons. And if that's the case, then hey, don't begrudge the man that either.
Very true. Everyone, we're going to get you to hold on as we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio's SOR Roundtable, which we do near the end of each month here on the big show. When we come back, we're going to get into ghost locations. Every television show, every Facebook post, it's always the same damn location. Are we tired of Gettysburg and Waverly Hills? I am. Are you? Ghost Talk on the Roundtable next on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, Eric Cooper and Coop's Beard. How are you? Square Hammer, are you on the square? Are you on the level? Are you ready to stand right here, right now, before the Davo? Let me know in the chat room. Richie G, you look tired, or are you frozen?
No.
You were you were standing or sitting so still, I literally thought the camera was frozen.
No. Just listening. I don't want to be intrusive.
Oh, yeah, this is the show you can be, though.
Nah.
Yeah.
I like everybody here.
By the way,
that's not true. I love everybody here.
After our show tonight, I ask if everybody to head on over to Third Phase of Moon's YouTube channel, where they're going to get Tony Hawk, the famous skateboarder, talking about UFOs and aliens. That is awesome. That is awesome.
He's got a new hoverboard.
He got a new hoverboard, or you did?
No, he did. Hawk.
Oh, yeah?
He's going to do the alien technology.
I was just going to say that.
It's not really a hoverboard, though. I refuse to recognize it as a hoverboard.
It hovered over the water, even though he didn't have power. McFly, you can't take your hoverboard over water unless you got power. I got a pit bull now. Anyway, back to the future. Nah, sorry. Too soon?
No. Never go wrong with a little Back to the Future. But you know what it is? You know what it is time for? It is time for me to show everybody about my Winter Blend Mighty Moose Beard Oil. This is what keeps me looking smooth, sexy, and sassy. I just drop a little bit in my hands like that.
This is weird.
Richie G likes to put it on his mustache, to thicken it up a little bit. And then you just massage it in.
Does, I know.
That's it. That's it.
He's not
right
supposed
there.
to tell everybody I do.
No, it's true. It's true. Richie G just massages it in. Then you throw a little in the hair, because it kills the split ends, because it's all natural, no chemicals, MightyMooseBeard.com. And the best part about it, people, Gary the Dutchman, who owns Mighty Moose Beard Oil, he's actually going to give you a deal. When's the last time you got a deal from a Dutchman on anything? Let's be honest.
How do I get sponsored?
Let's be honest. So if you use promo code SOR2019, Gary the Dutchman is going to give you a discount on it. Go to MightyMooseBeard.com. Yes, it's called beard oil. It's great for your hair, ladies. So you want to get this. You want to use it. And, just go to MightyMooseBeard.com. Tell him that Dave sent you. See, there's Gary the Dutchman in the chat room right now. He'll tell you, Dutch people don't give deals. But for some reason, just for the Spaced Out Radio listeners, the Dutchman is going to.
It's good if you got hair.
It's fantastic. You could grow. You should grow a beard, Rich.
Nah, I'm not a beard guy.
Oh no, you say you aren't.
No, I'm not. I've had beards, and yeah.
No, I don't believe you.
I promise.
Yep.
Sure. It's just
sure.
It's never. I mean, it looks
sure,
fine,
Rich.
but it's just not me, Dave.
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't be like you.
This stuff's all in Canadian dollars.
Yes, I believe Gary, Misty OC Dragons, I do believe Gary the Dutchman would send beard oil to Australia.
Which one's good, Dave?
Which one? I'm using the winter blend right now. I'm waiting for the new sample to come up. I had another bottle of the original, and I gave that to my buddy Mike, who ran out of beard oil. So I'm down to one bottle. I've got the wax as well. I still haven't figured out how to use the wax. Gary hasn't told me how.
What's the signature one smell like?
This one, it smells like candy canes and peppermint. It's beautiful.
No, the signature one.
The signature one smells like outdoors, like you're out hunting and around the forests, and real manly type smell. Actually, it's not manly. It's very natural. Very natural.
Okay. What's the promo code?
SOR 2019.
How does it smell, Dave?
I smell fantastic right now, Lynn. Your boyfriend needs some.
I'll see what I can do.
Mm-hmm. Gary the Dutchman, he's taking good care of you. All right, we got 20 seconds. Thank you to Allison Ford, Cat Chaser, and Major Lee for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate all of the support that you guys are giving us. We're going to bring the show right back here, and give us a thumbs up. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with the SOR Roundtable tonight. Our resident witch, Lynn Wallington, joining us, along with Paranoia Magazine's Olav Phillips from the Medutu Effect, Matt Lay, and the big man, the G himself from Goof On, Richard Giordano. Everyone, we are going to get into the topic of ghost locations. We watch all the television shows, we watch all the people on social media, and we're getting to that time of the year again where we're going to see every second post from ghost hunters on social media. I want to go to Waverly Hills, or I want to go to Gettysburg, or I want to go to Lizzie Borden's house, or I want to go where the axe murders were, no, or Alcatraz. You name the spot. It is only like 6 locations in the U.S. that every paranormal investigator ever talks about. And I'll be honest with you, I am tired of it. I am tired of the lack of imagination that television shows us. I am tired of the lack of imagination that paranormal investigators want to just do the same spot so that way they can have bragging rights among their friends in this paratourism section. Matt, I'm starting off with you. Am I wrong here? Am I being cranky for no reason?
No, you're not. And that's the difference between enthusiasts and researchers. But Allison mentioned that earlier on the chat, and it's so true. You got the enthusiasts. There's a couple of locations near here, and they've had to build walls and everything to keep people out, and they still break in and whatnot. And yeah, they're active locations, but it's a twofold part. Everybody wants to go back to the same location because the entertainment value and whatnot, or the enthusiast part. But the other part of it is the researchers that are going to these locations, they're just doing the same thing over and over and over. So that's not really research. You're just going, I think I said it on a previous show, paranormal researchers are going out and just looking for the check engine light to see what turns on. So, we're not looking for answers. But yeah, it's gotten to be overkill for the same location. It's just like the investigators that go out to, this is a sore spot with me, right? You do know this.
That's why I started with you.
It's like researchers that only go to cemeteries. I mean, that's Oh, that drives me nuts. But yeah, it's gotten. I mean, you can do a paranormal investigation literally anywhere. I mean, you don't have to wait, for the next media hype on a location. But it's. I agree with you. In a nutshell, I agree with you, Dave. It's gotten overkill with the same locations over and over for the entertainment factor, the lack of research, the enthusiasts, not the researchers, and it's just got ridiculous.
But on the flip side, I guess you could say, Matt, that Waverly Hills or Gettysburg or any of these places would almost be like Disneyland or Six Flags to the roller coaster or amusement park type of addict. Like, I'll be honest with you, when I retire, I'm grabbing a motor home and I'm driving to every amusement park possible to ride roller coasters. That has always been part of my dream in retirement. I mean, could this not be looked at as the same thing?
Well, it's gotten to be looked at the same thing. Yeah, it would be different if people were going there doing different techniques, different methods of research, trying to get different types of forms of analysis. But instead, people are just doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And to me, that's why it bugs me about these same locations. You're always going in, doing the same identical thing as the previous team did. That's not research. Sorry.
Lynn, I want to bring you in here on this one. How do we make it a little bit more exciting rather than only hearing about the same locations?
Well, I think you said it right there. Like, if people are going to different locations, it certainly makes it more exciting. I mean, I understand the kind of draw to a place that has had a lot of paranormal activity. Yeah, I mean, those places would be great to see. And some of it is just for the history as far as I would be concerned. I find them all fascinating. But I think to make it more exciting, go to new places, get new evidence, listen to all of the stories that each of these places has to tell.
No, very true. And that's what we need to see. We need to see more places. And, I look at all of these small towns, and they all have legends, Rich. They all have their own legends, their own stories, their own monsters, their own folklore. And there are thousands of little mountain towns or towns on the plains that are just off the highway by a few miles that nobody ever sees or recognizes that have these stories. And we're letting them be because we just don't seem to have enough imagination in the paranormal field or even the crypto or UFO field to go to these places and check them on out. How much of a disservice are that, or how much information, Rich, do you think we are missing regarding not traveling to these oddball areas?
Well, there are channels that do that. They're just not on television or cable. You just have to find them. There's channels on YouTube you could find that do exactly what you're saying. They go to abandoned places that used to be popular and don't have a name anymore. But wouldn't you want to, if you were a researcher like me, as a UFO researcher, I want to go to a hotbed where I know I'm going to get activity. Why would I want to go to a place I know nothing about when I know I'm guaranteed to get something at these popular locations? Yes, it's annoying and seeing the same things over and over, but there are people doing what you're saying. It just hasn't caught yet to mainstream, but it will in the next year or so. So I believe that. I believe that's coming, going into what we're missing. But it's very hard to come up with new ways to capture evidence. And a lot of people are just lazy when it comes to that. But there are people trying to, I don't know the name of the show, but they would build certain things to try and capture ghosts. It was some redneck show, but I give them an A for effort. They never captured anything, but at least they were trying. It's not easy. That's why you want to go to a place where you're guaranteed to catch something, and maybe you'll see something and maybe you can explain it. Maybe you'll find a portal, who knows, whatever they're trying to do. But that's why we're seeing it so much. It's guaranteed.
Okay, but
we're not missing out. We are missing out on mainstream what you're saying. But what do you think that should be done? I mean, I'm trying to think of things that these people could do while everybody's answering the question. I don't know what else they could do that they haven't done already.
Okay, so I look around Canada, and we have, and maybe I'm biased here because, A, there's not a lot of paranormal teams up here or cryptid teams up here, whatever it may be. I think we're weak in ufology up here outside of a couple of mainstream people. And Matt, I think you would agree with me on that, being an adopted Canuck. But the big thing that I'm seeing here, Rich, you okay over there? You got some ghosts happening there? Well, he might be. I don't know. He's got up out of his chair. Anyways, the big thing that I'm seeing is up here, we have a lot of ghost towns. We have a lot of places, especially the more north you go, where there is probably spirits there that have never, ever been communicated with. And even in parts of the rural areas of the United States, I'm positive there's areas there that have never been communicated with where you might be able to get some great detail as to what's going on. And I think in those sparse populations, or you look at areas where maybe it's a ghost town where a mine collapsed back in the 1850s and 36 people died in that mine. Or I know up here there's a town that was covered in a mudslide up in Canada here. Or not a mudslide, the entire mountain came down over the town, killed like 89 people. I'd love to go on top of those rocks and do an investigation over top of the town, see what happened. That would be great. Never been done before. Olav, are we looking to do the same thing, or are we not using our own imaginations to actually do a little research to find these areas?
Well, I think you've got two different things going on, right? I think there are the people that watch the TV show and they want to have an experience, and they go, they hit the easy button, which was pointed out, right? You want to go where something's going to happen. I mean, I have spots that I go to where I'm fairly certain I'm going to see something, right? But at the same time, the researcher in me, I want to go somewhere different. I mean, I used to write for a little newspaper in my town here, and there were persistent rumors that the editor of that newspaper was fingered as one of the possible candidates for the Zodiac. So we went in there to try it, and it was haunted apparently. So we went in there and tried to contact someone who may have been the Zodiac, and it worked. But, I've had experiences with ghosts in all kinds of weird places. Half the time wasn't even looking for it, right? So I'm always trying to go, I'm more adventurous than most. I'm trying to go to the ghost towns and the rock slides and, to go to these places that are reputedly haunted. There's a road on the other side of the mountain, which kind of dominates the valley I live in. On the other side of it, there's a road that's supposedly haunted by a phantom police car. I've gone out there numerous times trying to find that phantom police car. But, I want to go somewhere different. I have no attraction to Waverly Hills. I went to the Wally house. It was crazy. I've gone to places that are heavily haunted because you want to have that experience. But I think we need to branch out and go to new places. Even if the techniques are the same, the environment is different. So I think we need to push the envelope.
Very cool. Very cool. I think we do too. And I think we are missing out on a bunch of cool stories. Like, I'll give you an example. I was doing a report for my blog one day and for UAPresearch.com, who I also write for, about Canadian sightings. And I had no idea that three hours north of me in Prince George, British Columbia, back in the 1960s, they had their own Phoenix Lights event. And I typed it into Google, and sure enough, there's the released RCMP form on this Prince George Lights event. Thought it was fantastic. Never knew about it. Never knew about it whatsoever. And those are stories like that. Now, Prince George has 110,000, 120,000 people in it now, but back then it was a community of about 10, 15,000. And I think those are some of the legends and stories that we need to find out. I want to know about these Wendigos that are running around Montana.
Well, we have that here. That 5 miles from my house, there's a location that Hynek actually fingered as one of the 10% that he couldn't explain. A UFO landed in a field, and robotic entities got out of it and chased these 3 kids across the field. And Hynek came. He couldn't explain it, but the fact that had happened had been lost to history. So, of course, I went out there. I didn't see anything, obviously, but just being in the presence of a place where that happened, it's invigorating. So, personally, I seek those places out. But again, I'm more adventurous than most. I'm willing to take the failures. I think a lot of people don't want the failures. They don't want to go out there and have nothing happen, right? So they tend to go for the easy button. But for me, I'm adventurous. I want to go see where the Wendigos are running around, or see a skinwalker, or whatever. So
right.
I think it's your adventure level.
Very true. Very true. Matt, I saw you nodding your head with that.
Yeah. And it's like across the board agreement here. Because Dave, what I've learned since been here to Saskatchewan is that there's so many small towns, so many different stories that don't get the time of day, and that they need to be researched more. It's whether it's just research or go give those people an opportunity in that area to tell their story. It's it's not just here in Saskatchewan, it's everywhere. When we went to Manitoba for that investigation at the Ninette Sanatorium, nobody even knew the place existed. And it turns out historically it was an amazing landmark. We got an opportunity to tell that story of the location, its history. And plus we also did the investigation there. But I think it's important when you have the locations, the hotspots, it's great to have you can establish a control, and then you can go out to the other locations to do a comparative test. And, also, like you said, you get the opportunity for people to tell the stories of those areas, because there's a ton of them out here.
Absolutely. And Lynn, are there a lot of places by you that are still uninvestigated?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I live not too far from Salem, Massachusetts. It's actually where I work as well. And, people flock to Salem, but the town that I live in, which is, relatively close to Salem, right outside of Salem, I didn't even realize until about 2 years ago that there was a house here in this town where some of the people who were being held as accused witches, they were held right down the street from me, and I didn't even know about this. And so I think part of the responsibility lies on those of us who have, YouTube channels or podcasts and what have you, to get those stories out so people are even aware of them. Because I think part of the problem is they may not even be aware of these other places that are out there to investigate.
Mm-hmm. And I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Or like I was talking with David Weatherly about this just a couple of days ago. Think how many stories the indigenous people of North America have that we have completely ignored. Mm-hmm. Completely ignored because of our Caucasian Christian scientific backgrounds. We've ignored it. And these are legends where, even talking to Lou Elizondo privately about it, he thinks one of the biggest disgraces that we have is that we haven't listened to the indigenous people enough about what they have gone through and some of the connections they have made with some of these mysterious creatures, whether it's good or bad. I mean, there's a lot of answers there that we have absolutely brushed off, Lynn.
No, I absolutely agree with you 100%. I think there's a lot of information that we're overlooking.
What do you think is the biggest one that we've overlooked, Lynn? Or some of them?
I mean, I guess I would certainly the indigenous people, they have a lot of stories that while we know some of them, or those of us who are more involved with the fields may know of these stories, I'm not sure how much the general public actually knows about them, but those stories definitely need to be heard and researched and looked into, because they have sites of their own that, if we are able to, would be wonderful to investigate. But then again, I think it's just kind of like what we've all been saying. It's the smaller, lesser known areas that haven't really been investigated. That's the type of stuff that really needs to get out there.
Mm-hmm. Olav, your thoughts?
Well, the best one that I can come up with just off the top of my head is the story of the Wagesh, or the Wage. Everybody goes to Shasta, whether you believe it's Lemurians or there's a temple inside of it, or you're into Shaverton or whatever. Everybody flocks to Shasta, but they never talk to the Yurok, who are the First Nations people around Shasta. And the Yurok, I've spoken to some Yurok people on occasion, and they tell you crazy stories about a group called the Wage, which were basically, very tall, more pale people that lived within the mountain and used to come off the mountain and communicate with the Native Americans. And, and it was the story is so ingrained that when the Europeans first came to where the Yurok are, when they saw them coming in from the ocean on the ships, they really couldn't rationalize a sailing ship, and so they called them the Wagesh, and they believed that the sails were clouds and that they were on moving islands, and they thought that the Wage had come back and that they were the Wagesh, like the children of the Wage. But the Yurok have very extensive mythology around, Bigfoot or around the Wage, these, mysterious people that lived inside Mount Shasta. But we kind of go up there and, we channel things. And don't get me wrong, I've done trances and I've pierced the veil, and I've done all those things myself. I know they're true and they're real. But at the same time, we miss out on everything that the Yurok are saying about what actually happened in that area, and they have a lot to say. So absolutely, we need to listen more to the people who are here first, because they have thousands of years of experience that we don't have.
Matt, obviously easy to agree with that one.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a location just north of here. When I say that, it's about 3 hours north. And it's a fascinating location. I've been dying to get up there. And it's got a whole bunch of different stories around it. So that immediately already intrigues you. And it's a location, it's called, have you ever heard of Crooked Trees in Saskatchewan?
No.
It's literally a location that is known for its high magnetic fields, but all the trees grow twisted and turned. And it's got all these different legends about it, and I'd love to get up there and, at the tri-field and all these different things. But no one ever, we've had teams come in from other provinces and whatnot, and these are big production teams. No one goes there. And it's,
the tragedy.
See, but that's where we got to go. Mm-hmm. And not just talk about it. That's where we need to go. We need to be going to those places. We need to be going to those type of areas. And that's what frustrates me about especially the paranormal side of things. We only want to go to those locations that are like the paranormal Disneylands, or for UFOs like Sedona, Arizona. I want to know what the hell's flying over the Vancouver Mountains. I want to know about the Wendigos in Montana.
Here in Saskatchewan, if you just go down to 39, like you're heading to the U.S. border, there's a repeated accounts of people seeing lights, in that area. And, it's also one of the, one of the locations where it was mapped for ley lines. It's got a whole bunch of different theories, but that's another location it needs to be looked into, because the stories that come from the locals from that area far outweigh anything that, could be even dreamed up. They have too many commonalities.
Exactly. Exactly. G, you got 30 seconds for the final word.
About what? What would you like me to talk about?
I don't know. Tell us about your mustache. I don't care.
About the Hopi Indian in Arizona that they talked about the writings on the petroglyphs on the rocks about the star people. I don't know if anybody knows this, but in 97, they built the freeway out here called the 51, which ran right down the center of Arizona and split the city. On either side of the freeway, along the walls, there was artwork and designs that said, "Welcome, star people." And where do you think that story came from? And where do you think the Phoenix Lights flew right over at 8 o'clock that night? A year later, they took down and erased all that stuff that was on the side of the freeway. It's interesting. It was almost like a roadmap for the aliens.
Awesome. Awesome. Rich Giordano, Matt Lay, Lynn Wallington, Olav Phillips. The SOR Roundtable continues with Hour 3 next. We're getting into critics. Critics next. Where will this go? I have no idea. We're going to get into it, though. All right. I'm just going to run my dogs out. You guys chat with the class.
I didn't know where he wanted me to go. What was I? There was so much said 15 minutes before.
Nod.
Rich, what do you think about everything everybody just said?
I just nod and smile.
Yeah, I know.
Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm.
If they could only see us. That's funny.
That's the problem with the radio, though.
I love it. Yeah, I think I like the mystery of not seeing the guest.
So do I.
I think so. Yeah.
Theater of
It's
the
more.
mind.
Yeah.
I gotta go to Crooked Trees, though. That shit sounds awesome.
I know. I'm dying to get out there.
Where's that?
I can't.
Where's Crooked Trees?
Crooked Trees is about 3 hours north here in Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, when they'll let me in, I'll go.
Yeah.
Kind of off the table at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of things are.
Yeah.
Going just to the bottom of the hour here, 12:30 or 1:30, whatever it is, or another hour.
Mm-hmm. I just show up.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember. I think sometimes we stop in 30 minutes from now. Sometimes we go the whole hour for the last hour. Yeah.
It's okay. I got to finish the long way up. So when it's over, I'm going to go watch Ewan McGregor.
Is it good?
The long way up? Yeah. It's crazy. He went from the tip of Tierra del Fuego down by Antarctica. He went all the way up to the United States on electric motorcycles.
Damn. Whoa.
Have you ever seen the long way round?
No.
Him and his friend, they've made 3 of them. I've seen 2 of them now, but in the long way round, they basically rode all the way around the world. I mean, obviously you have to take an airplane to the U.S. or whatever, but they went all the way across Western Europe, all the way across Russia to a place called Magadan, and then they flew to here, and then they went across the U.S. And then I guess in the long way down, they went down from Europe across Africa. And then this one, they went the long way up. They went from the tip of South America all the way to the United States.
That's incredible. Yeah, I was just going to say it's incredible endurance for motorcycles.
Well, in the long way around, at one point, one of their bikes broke down. And so they actually bought this old, Soviet motorcycle that was all beat up. And they, Ewan McGregor and his buddy and the cameraman, they're all motorcycle guys. So they were on the side of this, out in the middle, the Far East. They're on the side of the road, trying to fix this motorcycle. It's pretty funny.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the long way up, they were going through Mexico, and they were afraid of cartel stuff. So they bought a bus, and Ewan McGregor and his buddy and a bunch of other guys. Obviously, they have a chase team that's there in case of emergency or whatever. But they were tearing apart the school bus and rebuilding it. In 3 days, they cut out all the seats and Yeah, it's pretty legit. He seems like a really nice guy.
It does. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, you should watch it.
Yeah, I think I will. I wrote it down. Thanks.
Yeah, it's do it in sequence. So the long way round is the first one. I watched that actually when I lived in England. It was on ITV, I think.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Does it sound like I'm talking out my hole tonight?
Which one?
Yes, exactly.
You know, when I was walking the dog right before the show started, I was thinking to myself, I want to do that, but 14. Go to all the 14 places.
You're so 14. Did you know we're going to call him Olav the 14?
It's a good name, actually.
In a couple of years when I retire, I'm thinking after I take my cruise across the Pacific, I'm going to drive across the U.S. and go to all the weird spots.
Including Canada.
Yes. You got to come to Canada.
Oh, yeah. I like Canada. No, I wanted to live in the Yukon.
Nobody wants to live in the Yukon. By the way, speaking of the Yukon, there is this East Indian gentleman named Gurdeep who is a Twitter smash right now. Literally, I love this guy. Every day on Twitter, he posts himself Bhangra dancing somewhere in the middle of a snowstorm or on a frozen lake. And he does it all about trying to promote peace and love. What is his Twitter here? Hold on. I got to find this. Awesome. Honestly, it makes my day every day. Gurdeep Pander of Yukon, at Gurdeep Pander. If you follow him, every day you'll get this great video of about a minute of him Bangladesh dancing in the Yukon. And I don't know what it is about it, man, but every time I see him doing it, it just puts the biggest smile on my face. I'm like, that guy gets it. That guy gets life. You know, especially if you could do that in minus 50 degrees in the Yukon, you know, you're a special dude, man. You are a special dude. Thank you to everyone in the Super Chats. We're going to get going with Hour 3 right now.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us on the SOR Roundtable. We really appreciate everyone tuning in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. McCulamancy. McCulamancy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and so much more. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. I think I just said that. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on to the top of the hour with our roundtable as we are talking about the month that was in the weird and strange. We got Rich Giordano from Goof On. We got Matt Lay from the Medudo Effect. We have Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine and our resident witch, the unicorn herself, Lynn Wallington. Lynn, I want to start with you on this one because I want to talk about critics. There's a lot of critics out there that immediately when a story breaks about something strange or somebody gets new evidence or a great video of a Bigfoot, we're all destroying it completely on social media. It is absolutely, a travesty because we keep saying, where's the evidence? Where is the proof? And the minutes people provide proof, whether it's of videos of fairies or videos of gnomes moving in their garden or ghosts in their house, there is this giant group of people out there that's just like, that's fake, that's false, there's a string there, that's somebody walking up the stairs. There's always an excuse for people who are not there. Are the critics too harsh on the evidence in this field?
Oh, absolutely. The hard part is that unfortunately some of the evidence is faked, and that's just a reality that we have to deal with. So it's understandable why people would be suspicious, and they should be suspicious to a certain extent. But at the same time, we need to remain open-minded, because if we're automatically assuming that every piece of evidence is faked, then we'll miss out on anything that might not be faked. So I would say, yeah, there are definitely people out there who are just automatically, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake, and here I'm going to tell you why. And these are the possibilities. And half the time, the possibilities don't even make sense. I just think that they're talking to hear themselves talk at some point.
And Rich, I'm going to bring you in here because earlier on you brought up the name of reporter Mick West. That every time there is something UFO, he tries to be the amazing Randy in trying to literally poo-poo everything as something that could be simply explained rather than, going into the fact that there could be something anomalous about it. Look, I have no problem with people being critical. I think we need critical thinking in this field in order to solve a lot of the woo from the true who, what, where, when, and why, and even how. But at times, are we shooting ourselves in the foot by being overly critical, overly skeptical?
It's a safe move to say there's a string, it's CGI or whatever. I used to do that all the time because up until recently, I used to think I knew everything, that, okay, I figured this out already. And most of the time I'd be right. But am I? Unless you're there, nobody knows what you're videotaping exactly, unless you know how it happened, how they caught it. Because a lot of people just post stuff or send you stuff with very limited information. So it's an easy thing to say when you see a dot in the sky. It's most likely a plane or it's an elliptical star or planet or something. Yeah, it does kind of degrade the real research because, it's hard to get to these places, Dave. We can't be everywhere at once. So all we can do is take the data that we've accumulated with our own research and try to match it up. And that's the best we can do. So that's what I think I do, and I think I've changed from just saying, oh, it's CGI without actually knowing everything. Just because it looks a certain way doesn't mean it is. So we have to get away from that and do a little due diligence and actually maybe call the witness. Have them take a shot of the same area the next day during the daytime instead of the nighttime shot, whatever. A lot of people don't do that. So we need to do a little more research to find out stuff and then fill in the blanks without guessing.
What I find sad is a lot of the people who post these videos, they're not in this field. They're excited. Right. They are rich. They are people who are like, look what I caught. Give me a break here. Tell me what this is. And they literally get raked over the coals to the point where it's almost like a bullying type sense of trying to beat this person down so bad that they don't ever come back to the UFO, paranormal, or cryptid community. Like, it's vicious out there.
Yeah, I know. I used to do that all the time, and I wish I didn't do it that way. But there's a reason it's done that way, too. A lot of these people are paid to be trolls. They're informants or shills or whatever. There are people out there who will and are paid to say that stuff. So no matter how badly you think you're going to get rid of the researchers, or fake researchers saying they know it all and that's CGI, whatever, there's always going to be some paid person to go in there and deny it or make it what you just said, something that will make these people never come back. But a lot of the evidence is crap. It's and I hate to say this for those people who sent me stuff, but well, you get a lot of dots in the sky. How am I supposed to know what it is? It's so far away. We can't tell, or shaky footage or things of that nature. So when we tell them, even if we're kind and you tell them the truth in a nice, kind way, they get mad at you then and think you're bullying them no matter how nice you are. So you can't win. It's a lose-lose situation. I say if you have real footage, only good footage that you think looks like an object, not a dot, not something blurry or a cloud, that's when you should post it. And post it, maybe look for the #1 UFO channel or website that actually does real research and see what they think.
Matt Lay, I want to talk some paranormal with you because I know you have been monitoring this for a long time in the paranormal field, probably seen some amazing footage that has just been raked over the coals.
Oh, yeah, it's been a couple times, and I've been in the same boat where I immediately was that bad person with the, critiquing it and saying, this isn't either enough or it's got to be this or, type scenario. But there's been some footages that have been sent. And the thing is that we have to do our due diligence. It's a lesson learned, where you have to stop and do your due diligence. You may immediately say, well, that's just dust or this. But you have to give time and credit to the person that took the time to send it to you, to stand by it, look at it. If you may not come up with an answer, and there's been a bunch of times where I've told the person, I don't have the answer for you. I can't explain it. A lot of times people want an explanation, and going back to what was said a minute ago, that's when they get upset because you honestly can't come up with an explanation. But, these people that are out there that harass individuals for sending concerns or whatnot, the ones lurking in the background, sometimes I wonder if it's challenging their personal beliefs, and that's why they're getting all riled up, and that's why they're attacking. But, that's just my personal opinion sometimes, because they may have their own identification of what it should be, and because it may challenge their individual beliefs, they may strike out and attack as a harsh critic.
Very true, very true. How about for you, Olav?
Well, my attitude has always been, when somebody sends me something, I do my level best to try to figure it out. If I can't figure it out, then personally, I enjoy hearing the story. I've been on the other side of it. Back a long time ago, there was a ham radio operator that had picked up a very bizarre signal coming out of, I want to say it was like a North Korean, there was like a subcarrier off this North Korean broadcast that it contained some sort of an encrypted digital transmission. And the ham operator community tore this guy apart, tore me apart, because I said, look, this is some sort of burst signal, ripped us all apart. And then it turned out that about a month later, they caught a North Korean ship going through the Panama Canal filled with missile parts, not rocket parts, missile parts. And so, there was some vindication. But I think that we're too quick to dismiss it. I personally, I don't mind the lights in the sky. I want to see what those lights are doing, because sometimes you look at it and you're like, well, that's just the light. But then you see it doing weird maneuvers. So, if I don't know, or if it's shaky or, whatever, I tend to focus on, okay, well, tell me the story. Because at the end of the day, I really like the stories. I like the stories of what they saw, how they felt. I enjoy the storytelling aspect of it a lot. So, but I do think we need to chill out and just understand that some of these photos are taken under bad conditions. And, I just try to do my level best, whether I take the bad photo or somebody else does, to kind of figure it out. And if I don't know, I say, I don't know, but let's talk about what you saw and see what we can figure out, based on what you saw.
See, and I think this community has become so fickle with frauds, hoaxes, fake videos, people trying to pull the wool over like Street Lamp Mike, you know. And I know Rich
it's landing gear.
You know, no, not Street Lamp Mike. Not Street Lamp Mike at all. That's Rich's hero right there.
I was nice to him though, because it was like, okay, you know, I don't see what you're seeing, but I understand that you know you believe this, so just tell me your story. You know, I don't tearing him down doesn't help at all.
You know, but the point is, though, we do have those fakers. I mean, how many videos on YouTube are of a real Sasquatch, Matt, and, you know, and not someone in an ape suit?
Yeah, well, honestly, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on right now. People want attention because of TV shows and, you know, media and whatnot. Yeah. So people are running around coming up with fake paranormal. They're coming up with fake, you know, a lot of this fake footage because, hey, look at the technology we got at our fingertips. And now we're going to get attention. Yeah, it can be presented. And yeah, they will get butthurt if they get the harsh critique on it, because look at all the work they did on it for the CGI and everything else. Or the guy running around in the woods with the suit on. Yeah, there's going to be, like Lynn said earlier, you're going to have that stuff out there, but we can't disregard every bit of it.
No, very true. Very true. And we can't disregard a lot of it because of the fact that there are the real ones. We have to go through the BS in order to find the hidden gems. And that's what I'm talking about here. But the community is roughshod. Just roughshod. But let's move on to a new topic here. Because right now, if you had $4.5 million sitting in your bank account, or you could at least maybe get a mortgage for that amount, okay, would you buy the ranch that sits right beside Area 51 that is now for sale? Olav?
In a heartbeat. In fact, I was looking at land down the street in Rachel that was smaller, but just to have it so I had a place I could put cameras, and no, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
What would you do there?
If I bought that ranch?
Yeah.
I'd set up sensors, cameras, because I'm not interested in just the aircraft. I want to see the movements. You know, there's red flag when they're doing, the opposing forces stuff. Oh, it'd be a dream for me. But I'd set up cameras everywhere, analyze the footage. I mean, I go up into the Sierras to watch. I take my goggles up there. I sit on the side of a mountain about 200 miles away from Area 51, and I just watch the stuff climb out of there. And to me, it's just a dot. If I could be that close, it would be insane. But I've also looked at property down the road from Skinwalker Ranch, because the thing that people miss is that, okay, this stuff's happening on Skinwalker Ranch, but the entire Ute Valley is filled with that stuff. And if you can see those lights coming out of the ground up into the sky on Skinwalker Ranch, if you're a mile away, you're seeing the same light. So I would totally set up all kinds of sensors. But I'm an engineer, so I would attack it from an engineering point of view.
How about you, Rich?
What part?
Would you buy the ranch? $4.5 million, edging on Area 51, where they give you a special radio that if you radio into Area 51, they'll allow you to bring your cattle across the line, so to speak?
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind that kind of being out in the middle of nowhere right by Area 51. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd be one to buy it. You can, if you have that kind of money to buy that, you can get anything you want out there to supply with whatever needs you have. So, yeah, I'm on top of that.
I'm wondering if there is a contract that you have to sign with the U.S. government regarding that, so that way you don't set up the cameras or you don't do tours onto your farm to allow people to come. Have they?
No. Yeah. No, there's no, they can't do that. If you buy the land, they can't govern what you do with it. I mean, obviously there are laws, right? You can't light the thing on fire or whatever, but no, they can't regulate whether you have cameras or not. No, you can set up as many as you want.
Really?
Oh. I would.
I do know that they have to get special permission in order to allow like 150 acres for their cows to graze on, which is Area 51
that's
property.
Different. But that's different because you're crossing the frontier into the Nellis Range. You know, there are a lot of ranchers all around the Nellis Range that have to do that. But that's more informational. I mean, look, the place I used to work at, there was a guy who was a private pilot, and he used to fly from where he lived down to where the office was. And, you know, they would get special permission to fly over Beale. And he said one day they were flying in an air corridor over Beale because it's very tightly regulated. And a U-2 went right under them. You know, you can fly across most military bases, but you have to radio into the control tower, and they give you a very tight corridor. Otherwise, you have what happened to that English guy that tried to fly a Cessna into Area 51, and they were buzzing him with the F-16s, you know, years ago. But they can't. That's different because you're crossing the frontier. You know, you're crossing that boundary.
Lynn, if you had $4.5 million, would you buy that ranch? Because you look like you could wrangle a few cattle.
That's what I do in my spare time.
That's what I thought.
No, I actually wouldn't buy. I don't think I would buy the land, mostly because I don't want the people coming all around me. You know, there's so many people that are trying to get a glimpse of Area 51 that, I mean, unless I did admission, then maybe, hey, we could have Area 51 parties, have an Area 51 cocktail. Fun. Yeah, right? Why not?
Oh, you got to put a bar up.
I want to sit on an Adirondack chair out there with a Mai Tai. There's
Absolutely.
A CIA airfield. There's
right?
a CIA airfield. Yeah, there's a CIA airfield out by Mercury. And, you know, they run rendition flights out of it. Peglin talks about it in the Terror Taxi. And, you know, there's a bunch of BLM land that goes up to the line. And, you know, you can go camp on the BLM land. They won't stop you. I always wanted to sit out there in an Adirondack chair with Mai Tais watching the planes go in and out. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the Area 51 cocktail.
All right. Area 51 party.
Let's go. We're going to set up our own. You know what I'm thinking? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a GoFundMe page for $4.5 million so that way I can buy the ranch. U.S., not Canadian.
There's a 3-acre plot just outside of just outside of Rachel. It's only about $12,000. And you're going to see the same thing. You just can't see the airfield itself. But you're going to see the stuff climbing out over the mountains. It's only $12,000. You could go out. I mean, it's a plot of desert, but yeah, you can go out there, set up a yurt, and have quite a party with your friends.
Well, I would just say this: any GoFundMe, you know, it would be real tough to accept a $5 donation if you're trying to raise $4.5 million. Matt, you being former Air Force, you and Allison move down to Area 51. Go, move some heads of cattle. You could put up to about 800 on there.
Yeah, I think we would. So I'm kind of caught. I would love the experience to be right there, but since everything, like most of the testing equipment that I develop here and different things, would all be radio frequencies, and because that would make it very difficult to be able to do that because of regulatory and restrictions. Yeah, I'm kind of torn. Part of me is like, God, this would be great. And then I would have to rethink everything that I would want to do.
Oh, man. I would love to do it. I would love to do that. Panel, maybe I should.
Do it.
Maybe I should. I'm going to hit up Brandon. I'm going to hit up Brandon Fugel from Skinwalker Ranch to see if he would invest in my GoFundMe page to see if I could buy that ranch near Area 51.
And you know what? Tell him, look, if you contribute $100, you'll get an invitation to exclusive, Area 51 parties. You contribute $1,000 and you can camp on it, 3 times a year. Do something like that.
With the rattlesnakes. Panel, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we do have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We got 30 minutes left of the SOR Roundtable. When we come back with Rich Giordano, Matt Lay, Lynn Wallington, and Olav Phillips, we are going to get into Robert Bigelow's new study going for the near-death experience. What is it all about? Is there life after death? We'll be back right after this. All right, we are clear. Couple things for people in our chat room. Number one, we don't attack guests. We do not attack them. We do not threaten them. Our chat room is not a democracy. It is a Daveocracy. Or if you want to go a little bit further, it is Daveunism. All right? What I say goes. And if I say you're a little bit too pumped up, we're going to cut you out. Plain and simple. And for the one person who was claiming falsehoods about Butch Witkowski, all right, learn your facts rather than trolling the internet from some trolls who went after him. All right, I've known Butch for 5.5 years. I'm very protective of it. He was a police officer. I've seen the photo in a newspaper article of him standing with 2 of his fellow officers wearing their uniforms. All right, so enough bullshit, enough lies. If you want to believe trolls on the internet rather than facts, maybe this isn't the room for you. Otherwise, people who are on my panel, you can disagree with them all they want. But the minute it gets personal, that's where I get personal. This is my room, not yours. You don't have to attend. All right? I appreciate each and every one of you who listens to this show. I love you all. But we do have a modicum of respect for the people that are in here. All right? And if, like I said, if you don't like it, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. But you can say whatever you want about a person outside of my room, not in my room. That's just the way it is. My room is it is oval, but angled ovals. Angled ovals. So I hate to be a dick, all right, but I have very strict rules about that. No politics, no COVID, no anything to do with race or sexism, no child crap, all right, and no attacking guests. They're volunteering their time for you guys to listen to it. And if you want to be an asshole about it and attack our guests for them volunteering their time, you know what? Maybe this show isn't for you. That's it. Okay, just like I said the other night on the air that I appreciate everything that you guys do. I can't believe that you guys take your time to spend with me because time is infinite. It's just like these people on the panel, whether you agree with them or not, okay, doesn't matter. The fact is they have taken their time. Even Streetlight Mike, we make fun of Streetlight Mike, okay, all the time. But at least he gave his time to our show for us to have an interview and have some fun. So chill out, enjoy the woo, okay? If you have a doobie, if you're into that thing, maybe puff twice, not once. All right? If you have a beer, have another sip because you need it. Let's bring it down. Let's enjoy the show, enjoy the woo, and let's just have some fun because this is about entertainment, not about attacking people. I am done. Done. Corrence is now on watch for anybody who attacks. They will be muted from the chat room for 300 seconds. Hi, guys.
Hey, trolls are regular. I mean, we all get them.
Trolls are great.
And I don't mind that. I mean, I sometimes think it's it's just part of it, and it is. But when you start threatening people, that's a different story, and you should be gone for that. There's no coming back from threatening anyone.
Hello, gorgeous Anita. Hello, New York Anthony. How are you? Hey, Overbuilt, what's going on? Right?
Hopefully they weren't threatening me.
But you know what? This also, you know, and we forgot to get into this when I said to the truth. Okay, a lot of people out there. Well, and I've heard it from. I wish we had more time. We may have to say this. You know what? Remind me about this after the show. I will say this after the show because I'm going to clarify something here. Hello, Audrey and Jamie. Which one are you? Audrey or Jamie, or is it both of you? Matt, your beard is gorgeous. Honestly.
Thanks.
Don't be shy. That is beautiful.
My daughter likes to braid it and put clips in it, and so she has fun.
All right, guys, we got 30 seconds. Hey, Discovering Sasquatch, how you doing? Troy, welcome to the show. Thank you. Ihez, good to see you from Germany. Well, PBR, we know you're a professional troll because, you're just, I don't know why I put up with you. You drive me nuts. I still love you, but you drive me nuts. All right, 5 seconds here, guys. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue with the SOR Roundtable panel tonight, and we are joined by Matt Lay from the Madutu Effect. From Goofon, we have Richard Giordano, our resident witch, the lovely and talented Lynn Wallington, and from Paranoia Magazine, we have Olav Phillips. And earlier this month, it was announced that Robert Bigelow, the famed billionaire out of Las Vegas, seems to have taken a step away from the UFO field, from Skinwalker Ranch that he sold to Brandon Fugel, and now he's getting into the near-death experience game. According to the reports, Bigelow has had a lot of loss in his personal life, most recently his wife of over 50 years, and he wants to know whether or not we can solve life's ultimate riddle, which is there life after death? So much so, he has put up $500,000 to anyone who can write a theory, thesis, or study that will be critiqued on how to prove life after death. Olav, I want to start with you on this one.
Okay.
Do you think this is a study that is of high value to humanity?
Absolutely. I'm just not sure he's the right guy to do it.
Explain.
So, number one, when he had NIDS, right, and they were going out and doing all this like crazy research, Skinwalker Ranch and abductions and cattle mutilations and all this stuff. Anytime you did anything with NIDS, they slapped you with an NDA. They never told anybody hardly anything about what they actually figured out. Then later, you find out that a lot of the stuff that he was doing with Skinwalker Ranch and the UFOs and all that stuff was actually DOD funded. So, he's more than plugged into the spook world. But even if this is not spook derived, right, that this is because, you know, he wants to know because of his wife or the other people that have passed on, he doesn't have a tendency to release it. And I think that if he can do God knows he's got the money. If he can prove it, he may not release it. And that doesn't do anything for anyone. He just sits on it. I mean, at one point he was with the UFO thing, you know, he bought the entire sightings database plus the membership list from MUFON. And he was the go-between that made that happen. So, you know, and just the NDAs and all the secrecy, he's very, very secretive. So I don't think he's the right, I think we need to figure it out, you know, but I don't think he's the right guy to do it.
Matt, what's your thoughts on that? Is Bigelow the right guy to put up the public money to go after whether or not we can solve the life after death riddle?
To be quite honest with you, I don't know if he's the right person or not. Because a lot of times when people start to go after that, they look at it from from a religious point of view rather than being open-minded. And so it depends on the information that he's receiving, how much he's willing to release. Is he willing to release it being open-minded? I mean, there's so many variables right there. I mean, let's say, for example, he does release all the information. And if he does, is he only going to pick a specific point of view to release it? So I honestly can't give you a straight answer on that because there's so many variables the way I'm looking at this because everybody's been trying to dig into that. And as people from a dogmatic point of view or however you want to word it, it tends to become biased and it gets labeled differently as it works its way around the world. So from my personal point of view, I don't know I don't know who is the right person to actually give that information out correctly.
Should we, though, Lynn, be tampering with some of these questions, like whether or not there is life after death? You know, there's a lot of people out there who say, look, we'll all get the mystery or the answers to the life's mysteries when we finally die and we get the answers from the other side. But then you got the scientific community who believes we're all just a bunch of dust and dirt in the end, and there is nothing else. We're one and done, much like sometimes we have guests here on this show that are one and done. So I'm just curious, Lynn, you know, should we be even going after these answers?
I don't think there's any harm in asking the questions and trying to find out the answers. I mean, do you have something specific in mind that you think is dangerous about asking these questions?
Personally, I don't. Personally, I do not. I want to know. I would like to have full confirmation to cure my anxiety that there is life after death.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, me too. I agree with you.
So
sorry, not that exciting an answer.
Wow. Just really push that one to the limits there, Lynn. Really push that one to the limits.
I'm edgy tonight, Dave.
I can tell. You really dropped the gloves on that one. Really dropped the gloves. Little Richie G, we bring you in for this one. Should we be putting money, or is this a waste of money by Robert Bigelow and his team to maybe create some intention?
Well, like everybody else is saying, I don't think not everybody, but I don't think we're going to see the evidence. I think this is something he is doing. I think he's trying to find people for future research projects into what's after we die, you know, what happens. I think that's what he's doing. He's trying to find certain people that speak a certain way, that had certain experiences, and he will put them in a room and try to, I don't know, figure it out with electrodes on their head and, you know, all sorts of things going on. He may have another trick up his sleeve. So that's the thing about Bigelow. We just don't know what he's doing. What happened to all that evidence at Skinwalker? Where's all that stuff? We never saw anything from there. So I think that's what this is. It's a personal thing just for him. That's just my opinion.
And I would agree with you. I do believe that it is a personal venture for him. I mean, let's face it. He's in his early 70s, and when we all get to that age, we let's face it, we do have one foot in the grave, outside of maybe Hugh Hefner, when God bless him, right? But I mean, the whole idea behind it is we're all going to get to that point where our time is almost up. And I'm wondering if Bigelow, now that he's lost his wife of 50 years, his one son is gone, he doesn't have much family left, if he's feeling lonely and is trying to figure out this whole role of humanity and what the purpose is. He has the money to waste on it, Rich.
Yes, and I would do the same thing he's doing, I think, if I had that kind of money. I would do my own research, and that's what I think he's doing. And yeah, why would you brag about that? I guess it's so people can. It's not really bragging that he's trying to get these essays done. I guess he put it out there so people could write that, and that's why. There's other ways he could have went about it. I don't know. I mean, it's an unavoidable thing with this guy because he's so rich and what he's done in the past. So of course we would have found out about it, but. Yeah, I think it's just for his own research, unfortunately. But if he does catch anything and they get some real evidence, that would be neat if he did go public with it.
Well, this contest that is on, and it is, there is a first, second, and third prize. I'm very interested in seeing what comes out of this and the ideas that some people have. I mean, because you literally have to talk to scientists, you have to talk to religious scholars, you have to talk to people who have had near-death experiences about what they've seen. I mean, and I believe you're only allowed 25 or 27,000 words to put it together, which in a study like this is not a lot of words. But, I'm intrigued by it. I really am intrigued by it. Should we be concerned, and this is open to the entire panel, is there anything that you see concerning about this?
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit. And concerning, no. But, I mean, if I had the money, I'd have someone else do the research for me. But right now I'm in the library at the Meduto Effect, and behind me, majority of the books behind me have something, a reference to what happens after you pass away. And, whether it's returning to the cosmos, returning to the all, become part of a collective, it's a whole bunch of different points of views. And so my first thought of, don't have the money, I'm going to read a book. But if I had the money, I would like to get some research to find a common denominator between them all. But, I mean, in 2001, I was hit by lightning and was flatlining in a hospital in Georgia. And, I can speak to that, but that's my own personal experience. And if you talk to some of these people, other people, they have different experiences. So that's one heck of a undertaking. So I don't know how that's going to find a common denominator on that research.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't one argue, though, that paranormal research, and by that I mean research into ghosts and spirits, is actually research into life after death?
Well,
I would agree.
Yes and no. I would say yes and no because paranormal researchers also explored the concept of multi-dimensions and other aspects. So I know so yes, there is the concept of spirits and ghosts, but, as far as saying it specifically for that, I wouldn't say that. But, it is a piece of it.
Could we be on the precipice of changing what mankind thinks? Because, I mean, let's face it, if we all know that we're going to have another life after this one, do we immediately care, or does our brain change and say, you know what, I've always wanted to steal a car, so now I'm going to go steal cars because I know there's an afterlife and there is no punishment,
No.
do we change our aspects about that?
I doubt it. Why would you want to spend the rest of your time on Earth in prison? I know what you're saying, though. I know. Go out and do some crazy stuff, kids, before, because it doesn't matter. We're going to another place. I get it. But, yeah, I don't think it does, though, Dave. I don't think it gives you a new perspective. And that's the greatest thing about not knowing what's after we die, is you give life all you can give while you're here, because you just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Olav, your thoughts?
Well, I think there are some people that would take it as a license, but I think it's important, but I think there's also questions that we can't answer, and I think that for those of us who have sought answers, we've experienced things that have told us, what the answer is to us. I do think it's important to try. I mean, it might as well, if it gives him some solace, if that's what he's really after, if it gives him some solace, then if it helps him, go for it.
I don't know. I mean, think about it. We all have a hit list. Let's just be honest. I mean, if you knew that you were coming back, and you got multiple, your spirit leaves your body, and you have, and you're coming back, it's guaranteed, much like a 5-year warranty or something like that. It's guaranteed you're coming back. Well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take the chance? Well, I screw up on this one. Sure, I spend a short amount of time in prison if you're eternal. Yeah,
but you also, if you're going to go down that line of thinking, then we should probably research karma. Because even if I'm going to come back, if I do something like that, it's going to hurt my karma. And I may come back in an even worse situation than where I found myself in the beginning. Right? So, there's radiant points off of that notion.
So you're saying there's rules of life?
I think so, but that's my own personal belief.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
I mean, I've seen karma happen, or what I perceive to be karma, pay back. So, I personally would not risk. I worked very hard to try to have good karma.
And bad stuff still happens, though, right?
Of course.
Yeah, because that's just chance, isn't it? Isn't that just chance? I had karma as I was thinking of doing something bad to somebody else. The karma knew I was gonna. There's always a loophole with karma. I believe in it too. That's what bothers me about talking about it. I'm just throwing it out there that couldn't it just be chance that eventually good and bad things just happen for no reason at all?
But the rational mind tries to organize it.
That's true. That's right.
I mean, now that you think about it,
look for patterns.
Now that you think about it, I sure wouldn't want to have to come back and pay that karma in a horrible, situation. Third world country, or abuse of parents, or what have you.
Whatever. Yeah. But there are always rules. Everything has rules. Nature has rules. The universe has rules. There's always rules.
Yeah.
So, gravity is a rule, right? So I think that there probably are intrinsic rules, and if you break them, bad things happen. So, my own personal belief is that, karma's a bitch, and it pays you back. And it, if I were to do something like that, if I did indeed come back, my personal opinion, personal only, I have no reason to believe this to be true, but I think that I'd be taught a lesson for what I had done.
But how would you know if you can't even remember the lessons from your past life?
Because it's about the life you're in.
Yeah, I know. But you're just saying, then I just learned from the previous life. So when you die, do they put you on a different level of karma and then send you back?
I think that when you die, if you come back, and I'm not convinced you come back, but if you come back, then in that lifetime, it's a kind of Hindu philosophy about it, or Buddhist philosophy, that when you come back in that lifetime, then you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to face trials to learn what you did wrong in the previous. Without the knowledge of it, you just go through it again. It's kind of like a do-over. You keep getting do-overs until you get it right.
When I was younger, I never thought about the stuff I think about now because I'm closer to death, So I think through life, you start looking back on the things you did, and then you start not doing that stuff. You stop being the jerk who interrupts everybody every time they speak, something like that, or whatever, whatever you did, you realize it's not necessary anymore. I don't know.
You make an accounting.
So can you think? Is there some sort of amendment?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm changing now.
I think that if you did bad, I think that you always have the chance to balance it out in the end.
Interesting.
But I also believe that the universe will give you what you need, not what you want, and that the universe itself is somewhat metaphysical. My many degrees from the Universal Life Church. I think that the universe strives for optimal efficiency, so it pushes the individual or the group toward a path of optimal efficiency. That it's not so much that it cares about balance and efficiency. So it will push you naturally toward the most efficient route. If you're good with, look, I studied anthropology and sociology for 5 years in college, but I'm an engineer. Go figure. But being an engineer was what I was really good at. So that's what I do. It's efficient.
That path had to happen for you to get to where you are. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we got to start to wrap this thing up. Richie G, tell everybody where they can find Goof On.
Well, you can find Goof On. I'm in a couple of places. Goof On YouTube, Monday through Saturday, live, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, and on I always mess it up, Third Phase UFO Report. Put up videos there, too, and Third Phase of Moon. Excellent. Matt, where can people find the Madutu Effect?
Madutu, MUDUTU.ca, or on Facebook look up House Madutu, and you can find us on there. We do live feeds and have a whole bunch of different groups that we convey information and then sometimes just be silly.
All right. Olav, Phillips, where can people find Paranoia Magazine?
ParanoiaMagazine.com, Paranoia Magazine on Facebook, Paranoia Mags on Instagram, and you can follow my misadventures in conspiracy baking and going to weird places.
Excellent. And Lynn, where can we all find unicorn hair?
You can find my unicorn hair on Paranormal Spirits on YouTube. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Matt, Rich, Lynn, and Olav for being on the SOR Roundtable. We're going to have another one at the end of next month because that's the way we do it around here. And we love it each and every time. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone taking in our chat room, taking in the show in our chat room on YouTube, LGAB, Spreaker, Revolution Radio, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Good show, panel. Good show.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Really do appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, we're going to get into some editing, and if everybody wants to head on over, if you don't want to watch me edit and hang out here, you can go over to Third Phase of Moon, where they're going to talk UFOs with Tony Hawk, and I'll be here hanging on out. You guys can hang out with me if you want. Lynn probably needs to get her beauty sleep, because that's what she does at this time of night. Beauty sleep.
Well, it is 3 a.m. here. So.
Well, that's your fault for living on that side of the country. Let's just be honest here, Linster.
I will just have to move.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Dave.
Nice over here.
G.
I'm moving there
We
too.
don't have snow.
Yeah, G's moving into the East Coast.
Yep. Going to retire. Florida.
No Arctic storms.
Just hurricanes.
I was just in New Orleans not too long ago. It was so nice, the warm weather.